He also fires the bat up. He's your home run derby champion.
The 2021 Major League Baseball Home Run Derby. Coverage begins today at 8 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN.
WYNG 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local. We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the
right now, Angels two-way star Shohei Ohtani, the top seed for tonight's home run derby, also named the American League starting pitcher and leadoff hitter for the All-Star game. He'll remain in the All-Star Midsummer Classic as the DH. The NL will start Washington's Max Scherzer. Tonight's derby coverage, 8 Eastern, ESPN Radio and ESPN TV. A couple of days off for the Bucks and Suns in the NBA Finals before they return to the court for Game 4. Giannis Antetokounmpo has had back-to-back 40-point games as Milwaukee has managed to close the series gap to 2-1, and he could come up big again in Game 4, says ESPN's Brian Windhorst.
That play leads me to believe anything is possible in this series, and that Giannis is at the beginning of maybe assembling the type of dominating ability that we've known he could have when he got the 2 MVP awards. This is the player at this level that we thought we could have, and these last 2 games I've seen it, and that's why I think Game 4 and his performance is potentially a very pivotal moment, maybe in NBA history.
Our Brian Windhorst on the Hoop Collective podcast.
Brought to you by Capital One Auto Navigator, where you can find a car, get pre-qualified instantly, and see your real monthly payment without impacting your credit score. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at CapitalOne.com/Auto Navigator.
For the ones who know that a little late is always too late, and that the clock doesn't stop just because you're missing a part, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry. And our Keep Stock inventory management solutions help ensure you have the right stuff in the right place at exactly the right time. Visit Grainger.com/keepstock to learn more. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
We're live. We're local. What are you gonna miss? He struck him out. We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WYNG studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Happy Monday. Indeed, indeed. Is it a happy Monday? No, it's a Monday, but I'm hoping that our listeners are having a happy Monday, and I hope your Monday is going better than mine. I'm assuming your Monday is okay, right? It's a Monday. It's just a Monday. So, again, welcome in the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. A ton to get into. The Cincinnati Reds have officially wrapped up the first half of the season, and, well, I predicted that they would drop 3 of 4 to the Milwaukee Brewers on the road to close out the first half. Well, they took 3 of 4. How about that? The old reverse psychology trick worked, or did it? We'll talk about the Reds' first half as it wrapped up, as they take some momentum into the break. We also got here in my hands, for those of you watching live on Facebook and YouTube, the College Football Preview Magazine. Phil Steele, again, he's going to join us, we believe, coming up at 4 o'clock. So good timing here as we got this in the mail today. So I'm excited to chat with him coming up here at 4. We'll talk about some of the top headlines in college football and even your Ohio State Buckeyes. A very interesting college football season at that. I mean, you look at the fact that all 4 playoff teams last year are approaching this upcoming season with a different quarterback than they had last year. Mac Jones is gone. Trevor Lawrence is gone from Clemson. Obviously, Justin Fields out at Ohio State, and the Notre Dame Ian Book. I forgot where he even got drafted. I know he got drafted. I'm trying to think of where he got drafted. It's driving me nuts. I thought about this earlier today and forgot to look it up before. But that is pretty interesting that all 4 playoff teams, and it's the first time in the history of the college football playoff era that all 4 playoff teams did not return their starting quarterback the next season. So it's kind of like a reset here.
Ian Book drafted in the 4th round by the New Orleans Saints.
There you go. Interesting pickup for them as well. But that's the first time in a playoff history, Kev, under the 14 format, that every quarterback in the college football playoff, 4 did not return that. None of the 4. I just butchered that completely. I got it right the first time. Not one team in last year's playoff is returning a starting quarterback this year. It's the first time that's happened in the college football playoff era. So there you go. But it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. JT Daniels at Georgia. Fantastic. Can't wait to see what happens there. Obviously at Cincinnati, Radler's getting a lot of attention, obviously, with Oklahoma, and rightfully so. I know that the kid at North Carolina, we're going to talk about all that with Phil Steele coming up here top of the hour. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I want to open up with this. And again, he wastes no time. Scott Campbell right here says, let's go Reds. And he did say, I hope you all had a great weekend. I hope you had a great weekend as well. Keith Tolliver jumps in quickly on Facebook, says, Bama definitely took the biggest hit. No doubt. I mean, we don't know that they took the biggest hit. We're not going to know. I think if you rank the quarterback situation for the 4 teams, I haven't really followed to see who Notre Dame's quarterback is. Look, Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama have all earned the respect and the benefit of the doubt when it comes to losing an all-time great quarterback and replacing him. I mean, we've seen Alabama, go from one good quarterback to another good quarterback to another good quarterback. So who's to say that they're not going to keep that up? Who's to say that Ohio State, who has gone from Braxton Miller to J.T. Barrett to Cardale Jones, back to J.T. Barrett to Dwayne Haskins to Justin Fields to possibly C.J. Stroud, who are we to doubt that that's going to work? I think Ryan Day, who was a part of those transitions, even with Urban Meyer, Ohio State deserves the benefit of the doubt when it comes to transitioning from one quarterback great to another. And then you look at Alabama, you go from Tua Tagovailoa right into Mac Jones, and Mac Jones technically, statistically, had better. His season last year was better than the best seasons of what we saw from Tua, and yet Tua still is looked at as the better quarterback, at least in college at that time. And then you look at Clemson. Trevor Lawrence gone, but we saw Uwe Agavaloe. I still think I butchered that, but the bottom line is
decent try.
Yeah, and he looked fine last year. Like he's undefeated. Well, no, he did. He was a part of the loss to Notre Dame, but he threw for 400 plus yards. He had 4+ touchdowns. He didn't have any picks in that game. He didn't lose because of him. That defense couldn't stop Ian Book and Notre Dame for whatever reason during that stretch. But I will say it's going to be a fun year as far as kind of redeveloping some quarterbacks that we know are good, but redeveloping some household names, I guess, as far as that goes.
Yeah, for Notre Dame, their quarterback, it looks like it's going to be Jack Cohen, the transfer from Wisconsin. He's going to be locked in as a starting quarterback for the Irish.
Oh, Tolliver said, I meant overall at running back. Okay, running back, wide receiver. Okay, yeah, Bama's offense was obviously just plucked left and right. I mean,
tons of guys win the first round, tons of guys win the second round. Lots of draft picks when you're coming out of Alabama. But the thing about them, just like Ohio State and Clemson, they restock.
It's not rebuild, it's reload. So, it is. The Wolf on YouTube, shout out to him. People jumping in early today. Got to appreciate that. It's a Monday where you could tell football's on the horizon. Let's just put it that way. The Wolf on YouTube says OSU, Alabama, Clemson all took a hit. Come on, Lawrence, Fields, Jones, all 3 studs. No doubt. No doubt about it. That's at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Robert Miller, he says, but the defense is much improved. Oh, okay. I believe you. I mean, Ohio State's defense. Look, you look at all the recruiting for them right now, and you look. I mean, defensively, they weren't good last year. They weren't great. No, they weren't good last. Let's just be honest. How much did they improve in the offseason? They weren't very good last year. They lost some key pieces defensively. What's going on there? The secondary has looked, kind of iffy. I'm curious. Are they going to take that next step? Defense for Ohio State's my big question mark. Robert Miller, again, big Bama fan, says next man up, Roll Tide. So.
You know where I'm at with the defense, man. It's all about the linebacking core, man. Linebackers got to play better football. Got to have some impact plays from the linebacking core. There's been plenty of impact players in the secondary for Ohio State the last couple of years. Obviously, at the defensive line, hasn't been an impact player at linebacker for at least 5-6 years.
All right. So again, Phil Steele, 4:00 coming up. Again, in my hand for those of you watching live on Facebook and YouTube. Phil Steele's College Football Preview Magazine, the 2021 edition, is officially out. In fact, we just got ours in the mail today. So it's perfect timing. So we'll preview and take a look at this magazine. The dude covers every single team. Is the most accurate magazine over the last 23 years, 352 pages, every team. I mean, right now I'm just going to open up randomly, and of course it's at Baylor, but every team, it doesn't matter. It's non-Power 5 teams left and right, the entire MAC. I mean, every single Division I college football team is represented in this magazine. Pretty cool. And we'll talk with Phil Steele coming up. Big weekend. Big weekend it was for the Cincinnati Reds. So last Thursday when we did our over-under, we over-under 4 final games remaining in the first half of the regular season. We did the over-under on the Cincinnati Reds of, over-under. I think you had it at 1.5 wins, I believe, for the Reds in that series with the Brewers. I was a little concerned. I thought that, and by the way, it kind of played out the way it anticipated to a certain degree. I thought that in game 1, I thought the Reds were going to get punched in the mouth just because of the fact that the Reds they're no longer sneaking up on teams. I mean, they're that good. I think they're that good. even with the deficiencies that they have. And I thought that, the Brewers are going to punch him in the mouth in that first game, mainly because of the fact that now it's no longer looking at Cincinnati as, Cincinnati's in town. It's okay, Cincinnati's in town. Second place, Cincinnati. Cincinnati, one of the hottest teams in baseball over the last month and some change. They were going to get the Brewers' best shot, and they did. And the Brewers still gave them their best shot in games 2, 3, and 4. But you got to give the Reds a ton of credit because they came out on top in games 2, 3, and 4. Big performances from Eugenio Suarez, big performances from Jonathan India. I mean, it was unbelievable to see what the Reds did, and it was cool seeing them in this playoff type atmosphere. The game on Fox on Saturday night, it just had a playoff look to it. It had a playoff feel. It was fun watching the Reds in a must-win. Not every game's a must-win, but it was fun watching them in a game that was getting national attention for the first time in a long time, and the Reds took care of business. So I wanted to pull this up. So on April 1st, on opening day for the Cincinnati Reds, this was my projections. Okay. This was a graphic that we used on April 1st, back, on opening day. I predicted that the Reds would finish 85-77. I've predicted at the All-Star break, Kev, that they would be 47-43. I was off by a game. They are 48-42 here at the All-Star break. I predicted that the Reds would go 14-11 in April. I was wrong there too. They're 12-13. But the bottom line is I got one of those almost correct, 47-43. But the Reds, I think are better than what we even think that they are, considering all the deficiencies, because the one thing that makes good teams good is consistency, and that's what they are. They win consistently because of what they do best, and they have, at the beginning of the season, they were losing consistently because of what they do worst. And I'll give David Bell this. He has found a way to manage around the bad bullpen. Guys in that bad bullpen have stepped up and made plays when they, to get some key outs when they need to. I know this bullpen's bad, and damn it, the front office better, obviously address it at this deadline coming up. But they just went on the road at first place Milwaukee with that bad bullpen, and they took 3 or 4. Took 3 or 4. I get it. Everyone wants to focus on what this team doesn't do well, but there's not a perfect team in baseball. Right. The Dodgers have flaws. The Giants have flaws. The Padres, they're kind of sliding right now. They have flaws. Every time you look at a team that is rolling in baseball, you could still look at every team and point at their deficiencies. So it's not about what your deficiencies are. It's about what you do well. And the Reds, they put a ton of pressure on teams because of that lineup. You have 2 All-Stars in Jesse Winker and obviously Nick Castellanos, and Eugenio Suarez has made some big plays as of late. Joey Votto has been the Joey Votto of old and not old Joey Votto. Jonathan India has been a huge plus for this team as a rookie, not just as a rookie, but as a rookie leadoff hitter. That's what the Reds have been looking for, a leadoff hitter for what seems to be well over a decade now. They've tried it. They've tried multiple scenarios. Billy Hamilton was supposed to be that next big leadoff hitter for the organization. They tried to squeeze that square peg in a round hole. It did not work. And Jonathan India, I think, kind of happened on accident. I don't think they anticipated him being this good of a leadoff hitter, especially as a rookie. And when you're doing this as a rookie, you're only going to continue to get better. But he looks like a seasoned vet up at the plate. No situation is too big for him. He's not swinging at bad pitches. He is not trying to force anything. He is very patient. It's almost like watching a young Joey Votto in the box as far as his patience at the plate. It's fun to watch. I don't care about what's wrong with this team deficiency-wise. I think Kinner needs to mix it up and try being positive from time to time. This is a team that is 6 games above 500 at the break. They win that Kansas City game that they lost 6-5. That should have been theirs. We're talking about a 49-win team, and God knows, of the 13 one-loss runs that they have, where this could potentially be a 50-win team at the break, and I don't think anyone anticipated that. I can't believe we're talking about a team that just took 3 or 4 from the first-place Brewers, and they're 4 games back at the All-Star break with 3 against Milwaukee coming out. This is a huge setup for the Reds to kick things off in the second half of the season.
Tons of opportunity, and they capitalize in a major way in this recent series because, I'm going to say something everybody knows, but the way you gain traction in the division is to beat the team ahead of you. And that's exactly what the Reds did by taking 3 or 4, like you said before. And also, coming out of this All-Star break, they have a ton of big games, obviously up against the Brew Crew again for a 3-game series. And then they got the Mets. So they have a lot of teams ahead of them. But, Reds fans should have no fear going into these games because the Reds are playing good baseball right now. I know my banner for the Reds is they're a 500 team and they've been playing 500 baseball, but right now they're not playing like a 500 team. They're playing much better than that. So if I'm a Reds fan, I'm feeling real confident about my chances of winning the division.
Yeah, when I projected them to win 85 games at the beginning of the season, everyone said, well, you're giving them 85 wins. I'm like, look, 85 wins sounds like a lot of wins, and it is, but that's 500 ball. It's not as if the Reds, if they finished at 85 wins, it doesn't mean that they tore it up this season. 85 wins means you also lost close to 80 times. So it's not as if 85 wins means that you absolutely killed it, but this team's now on pace to go about 91 plus wins at this point, assuming that they get healthier, remain healthy, and, also at the same time, hopefully make some additions at the upcoming trade deadline. But you have to feel really good about where this team is at if you are a Reds fan when you look at the National League as a whole. One thing else I was wrong on, I said straight up that the only chance this Reds team has of making the playoffs is winning the division. They have made things interesting with the wild card right now. The Philadelphia Phillies are 6.5 games out of a wild card. The Braves are at 7, and the Braves are going to continue to plummet. Unfortunately, a season-ending injury for Ronald Acuna Jr. Not what you want to see at any point of the season, but definitely in the final game of the first half. I mean, that's what is so decimating about that situation. But the Braves, 7 games back. The Cubs, they're 7.5 back of the wild card. They're about to implode this roster. And the Cardinals are a team who I can envision getting hot because that's what the Cardinals do. And then there's the Nationals. They have the starting pitching to get it done, but they're minus 15 in run differential. They just haven't been there. The Reds, Kev, are 3.5 back of the wild card right now. 3.5 games back of the wild card right now. And the Padres, they've lost a couple heading into the break. They're 4-6 in their last 10. The Reds are one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. Look, I don't really care about the wild card because I think the Reds are good enough to win this division. It's a winnable division. You got to keep your eye on the wild card because there's more than one route to get to the playoffs. Right. But damn it, with being 4 games back and 3 games at GABP with the Brewers coming out of the All-Star break, this team has a lot going for them. But I just hope they don't shoot themselves in the foot coming out of the break. That's going to be the biggest. That's going to be my biggest concern as they come out of this All-Star break.
So in baseball, the All-Star break isn't long. Like in the NBA All-Star weekend, and they actually have extended it. It's a full week. Like you do the games and everything on Saturday with the dunk contest, yada, 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 3-point shootout, then game on Sunday. But then it's an entire week that they get off. The players get off, the coaches get off, and then they start back up on a Monday. But in baseball, you have the game, which is tomorrow, the home run derby tonight and everything like that. There's games back on that Friday. So the players really only get a short window of rest and everything like that. And I know it's a game, and like us as fans, like, man, they're getting paid to play a game. Look, man, if you was outside over the last couple weeks where it was 90 plus degrees, imagine having to be in that outfield for that long, or being a catcher with your knees in that heat and all that armor that they got to wear and everything like that. Do you think the break, quote unquote, is long enough for the players?
For some, I mean, you want to talk about a team that I think it is a long break because you talk about teams that, I mean, a break for them is 1 day off.
Right.
And now you're talking about pretty much, I mean, look, outside of Jesse Winker, Nick Castellanos, the rest of the Reds are off.
Right. David
Bell off. I mean, they're not, doesn't mean that they're not working, but I mean, they're off. So I think that, I know what you're saying. This doesn't seem like as long of a break as compared to basketball at their All-Star break, but at the same time, for baseball, where a good break is considered an off day, just an off day, to have after they finished up yesterday afternoon, they don't have to report back to a game until Friday.
Right.
So I think it is a long break. And I think that if the Reds were struggling, this is a much needed break. But because they're rolling,
right,
I actually hate that they have the five days off, because right now they're swinging the bat really well. There's a lot of guys who have momentum at the plate. I just hope that when we come back, it doesn't hurt the momentum of India. I hope Votto doesn't revert back to some of his old habits. I hope that Eugenio Suarez could kind of build off of some of those game-winning clutch shots that he had, clutch hits that he had down the stretch. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I don't think it's a super long break or too long of a break or not long enough. But if you're asking me if I think it's not long enough, I almost think it's a little too long. Not that it needs to change, but 5 days, that's a lot to happen up here mentally. I don't care. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like when baseball's such a mental sport that in 5 days you can lose, you could kind of forget some of the little, just tiniest details that have you comfortable at the plate. Mm-hmm. You could even say the same thing about pitching. The best thing going for the Reds over these next 5 days, wear and tear on the bodies.
Right.
It's a young team mixed with some older veterans. I think everyone can use a couple of days off right now. So this is a good opportunity for them as they try to get healthier and healthier as they go. So we shall see. The Cincinnati Reds at the All-Star break a few years ago, back in 2014. This is the last time the Reds were above 500 at the All-Star break. And for them, hold on, I got to make sure I have this correct. I want to make sure that this is on the right one. So at July. So they played on the 20th. So on the 20th. Okay, so at the All-Star break a few years ago, they were 51-47. And they're 51-44. I apologize. Hold on. Let's reset this, Kenner. Act like you know what you're doing here. So at the All-Star break back in 2014, the Cincinnati Reds were 51-44. They had a better record in 2014 than the Reds do currently right now at the All-Star break. But this is what happened back in 2014 coming out of the All-Star break. They got swept on the road by the Yankees, 4-3, 7-1, 3-2. Then they got swept by the Brewers on the road, 5-2, 4-3, 5-1. And then they dropped 3 or 4 to Washington. And just like that, they went from well above 500 to all of a sudden at 500. And then they finished the month of July, Kev, at 54-54 at 500, which doesn't sound terrible, but they ended up finishing that season because they never were able to pick up that momentum, 76-86. So it's very important that the Reds come out of the break hot because it's going to be very hard to pick up where they left off, but it's going to be even more difficult if they lose the momentum that they've established and then try to regather it when it's all said and done. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. The Justin Kinner Show on Facebook, ESPN Dayton on YouTube. So make sure you head there, follow along, and jump in on the comments section. The Wolf on YouTube says, Votto and India are tearing it up. Trey Green says the Reds are red hot. Shaw, he chimes in, a Braves fan. He says that the Braves are done. I think with Ronald Acuna Jr., they weren't playing great ball with him. But I think at this point, him being out definitely hurts. Tolliver says, I've been the biggest naysayer, but the Reds are damn good. Hurts to say it as a Cards fan. Look, it doesn't hurt to say it as a Reds fan, but it hurts to say it as a Reds fan who's very critical of this team a lot. Like, it's kind of hard to, do my David Bell bits when they're playing good ball, despite all the deficiencies that they have. So there you go. The Wolf says, good point, Justin. I'm nervous about the break, but he goes on to say that they are red hot right now. And that seems to be everyone's excited right now, and they should be. So I'm going to stop with I hope that they don't, stumble coming out of the break. This team's hot heading into the break. I don't think any Reds fan out there, even the most optimistic of Reds fans, anticipated this kind of rollout heading into the All-Star break. Kev Nash brings us over under. We'll talk a little bit more Reds baseball coming up, as well as the National League lineup is out for the All-Star game tomorrow night. Where does Jesse Winker and Nick Castellanos fall in this lineup? I'll have that for you on the other side. Plus, Kev Nash brings us over under. We'll also talk with Phil Steele, college football coming up 4 o'clock. A busy show today. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
I need some backup. I got to get these trucks to Tuscaloosa by Tuesday.
Trevor's Trucking needs 3 18-wheeler drivers with commercial licenses ASAP, or his company will stall.
If we don't move the rigs before this weekend, we're going to be in trouble.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The moment you fire up a Gator UTV, the engine has your full attention. The completed job is on the horizon, and the trail meets its match. Just like that, you made short work of a long to-do list. Run with us on a John Deere Gator UTV. With effortless 4-wheel drive at the flip of a switch and our smoothest shifting transmission yet. Nothing runs like a Deere. Search John Deere Gator for more.
Staples Connect has everything for school at amazing prices. Right now, Staples one-subject notebooks are only 25 cents each, and Crayola 24-count crayons, 2-pocket polyfolders, and 4-ounce Elmer's glue are just 50 cents each. So your student won't just be ready for school, there'll be tons of drawings to hang on the fridge ready.
We're going to need a bigger refrigerator.
Visit your local Staples store or staples.com/back-to-school and get amazing prices for everything on your back-to-school list. Ends 9/18, limit 30, notebooks in-store only. Offer may vary online.
Ugh, my stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Staples Connect has everything you need for back to school at amazing prices. Right now, 8 packs of Pep Rally No. 2 pencils, Staples pencil cap erasers, and Staples comp books are just 50 cents each. So your student won't just be ready for school, they'll be first day of school pop quiz ready.
It's showtime.
Visit your local Staples store or staples.com/back-to-school today and get more than ready for school with amazing prices for everything on your list. Ends 9/18. Pencils in-store only. Offers may vary online.
What comes to mind when you hear this? Well, trees, of course, but there's a lot more to it. The Ohio chapter of the International Society of Arboriculture would prefer to have you think of healthy, safe trees, and the best way to ensure that is to hire an ISA-certified arborist. ISA-certified arborists are specially trained, and there are even certified arborists trained to help identify at-risk trees. Find a certified arborist near you at treesforohio.org. Trees, the number 4, ohio.org. And you might just hear less of this.
Save today on your next project with 11% off everything at Menards. Right now, all RCA antennas and accessories are 11% off. Receive all your local analog and digital HD broadcast channels for free with a compact TV antenna. Pick one up for only $35.49 after 11% rebate. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through Saturday, July 17th. Savings or mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents
and Doug. And we're back with Limu, Emu, and Doug for the final question. Category is things you climb. All right, Limu, what do you think? You sure? We're going with Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need. Oh, so close. We were looking for stairs. Huh. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
At CDW, we get that a cyborg assistant won't make your employees more productive from home.
Please, call me Brian. I can vacuum your dog.
That's great. But at CDW, we can design a productivity solution with Lenovo devices that offer fast, reliable connectivity to help your people manage their workloads the right way.
Can I have a human hug?
No. For technology that moves you forward, trust Lenovo and IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Learn more at cdw.com/Lenovo client.
Don't wait to get a new job. Express Employment Professionals is hiring for more than 35,000 jobs. Find your local Express office at expresspros.com or on the Express Jobs app.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we are back. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash, hanging out with you here on a Monday. I hope everyone had a great weekend. So the Cincinnati Reds, well, the first half of the season is officially in the books, and the Cincinnati Reds at the halfway point are 48-42, 6 games above 500, 4 games back in the NL Central, 3.5 games back of the NL Wild Card, and the Reds just continuing to play very good baseball. They're 23-20 at home, at 25-22 on the road. The only other team in the National League that has a better away record, the only 2 teams outside of the Reds, are the Brewers and the Giants. The Reds are one of the top teams on the road in the National League, and that was very evident, especially when you look at some of these sweeps that they've 4-game sweep at St. Louis, taken 3 of 4 at Milwaukee. These are the teams that they're fighting against on the road in these big time situations. They have some big games coming out of the break, Kev, against some tough division opponents, but coming out they have, of course, this big series with the Brewers. Then they have 3 with the Mets. Cardinals once again. They have Pittsburgh around the corner, which whatever. That series always becomes very important though, because that's where you find out the mental toughness of your team. You're in a dogfight when you got the Cubs in town, or when you're at Chicago, or when you're at St. Louis, or St. Louis is at GABP, or when you're at Milwaukee, and then you got Milwaukee coming out of the break. But that Pittsburgh series here at the beginning of August, that's going to be a very important series, which is weird as that sounds. It's because we're going to find out the mental toughness of the Cincinnati Reds team. Can they bring that same fire? Can they bring that same energy at a horrible Pittsburgh team, the same energy that they bring to Milwaukee? Sometimes those are the series that become very detrimental to a team's playoff push down the stretch. So that's going to be something to keep in mind here. Coming out of this All-Star break. But we here at the station have some tickets to the Cincinnati Reds series against the Brewers coming up out of the break. So we have tickets right here for Friday and for Sunday. All right, Friday and Sunday's game against the Brewers at Great American Ballpark. Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken has jumped on to help us give these tickets away. So all you have to do is head to wingam.com. Okay, wingam.com, click on win at the top, and you will see the Reds Family 4-pack giveaway presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. So take advantage of that. The Great American Ballpark is going to be full coming out of this All-Star break. Well, we have some tickets for you. Got to make sure you have the MLB Ballpark app. It's very simple. You don't have to come pick tickets up. I have people say, well, I would love to participate in some of your giveaways, but we can't, in the hours that you guys have to come pick things up, we can't make it there in time because we have to work. Well, don't worry. Download the MLB Ballpark app, and we just send them right to you. It's that simple. I think that's pretty cool. So thank you to Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Thank you to you Reds fans and listeners. We want to hook you up and make sure you're one of many Reds fans filling GABP on Friday and Sunday to help cheer on the Reds to hopefully another series win over the Brewers to tighten up that deficit in the NL Central. So wingam.com and sign up for the Reds Family 4-pack giveaway. Kev Nash brings you over under.
Kev Nash brings you over under.
All right, Kev, let's pick things up here again here on a Monday. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Over under, we are starting things off with, of course, a team we just spent a lot of time talking about, the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, like you talked about, the Cincinnati Reds reached the All-Star break with a record of 48-42. Redlegs are only 4 games out of the division lead. So over under, the Reds being 2.5 games back of the division by August 1st.
Well, I will say, I'm going to answer this in 2 different ways. They'll be under 2.5 games by the end of this weekend. I think they take 2 or 3 from the Brewers heading into this weekend, and that's going to put them under that 2.5 game mark right there. But, man, it's tough. It's a very important stretch coming out of this All-Star break. Luckily, this important stretch is all at Great American Ballpark. Mm-hmm. They have the grit on the road. All right, talked about they're one of the best teams on the road in Major League Baseball, Kev. But they have 3 with Milwaukee, 3 with the Mets, and 3 with the Cardinals coming out. Their first 9 games coming out of the All-Star break are all at home. And then you have a Chicago Cubs team that's going to be unloading their roster heading into that July 30th trade deadline. So they have favorable games coming out. Tough games, but all at home. So I'm going to say that they're going to be under that. They're going to either be under or right at, tied with the Brewers at the top of the division right now. It's really going to be a heavyweight battle till the very end of the season between the Brewers and the Reds to see who wins that division. And the important thing is the last series with the Brewers is coming up in August, and it's that second to last week in August where the Brewers and Reds meet for the final time, unfortunately. So, but the good news for the Reds in that stretch of September, They have a lot of series with Pittsburgh. They have Detroit. All right. They have a lot of bad teams on the schedule in September, so that does go in the Reds' favor. But as far as heading into August, for those tuning in, the over-under, the Reds being 2.5 games back in the division by August 1st, I'm going to say they're going to be under that. I think that they'll be about a game and a half, a game out there at the top of the NL Central.
This is tough. This is so tough that I've been looking at not only the teams that the Reds play, but you got to look at who the Brewers play as well, because it's not only about what the Reds do, it's about what the team does in front of them. How are they handling things? Obviously, the 3-game series coming up after All-Star break is super important. If they get 2 or 3 of those, that puts them in a very good position to be below that 2.5 games. But you got to also look at who Milwaukee has coming up in the second half as well, man. They don't have world beaters coming up either. So, but they're on the road. So I'm going to go with the under as well. I'm going to say they're going to be 1 game back by the time August comes around.
Yeah, Ron Howard, fresh back from his vacation, apparently. He's
made
feeling
it out of that hurricane, eh?
He's feeling all juiced up. He says it's the Kenner jinx. They're screwed. Based on your prediction. He's not completely wrong there. Look, I projected the Reds to drop 3 or 4 against the Brewers, and the series did end 3-1, but it was in favor of the Reds. I hope. I don't believe in those types of things, but sometimes it's really hard to deny the weird, strange reverse psychology power I have, Kev. So I'm really trying to envision that that's not an actual thing, and that I'm going to be right in predicting that they will take 2 or 3 from the Brewers coming out of the break. But yeah, I think that they'll be right there heading into August. I think this is shaping up to be a fun race and a fun second half of the season. So that means in the second half, Kev, we get to talk Browns, we get to talk Bengals, we get to talk Buckeyes, and Cincinnati Reds. It's going to be a fun final half of this 2021 year. I tell you that much.
There is no off season.
Nope, absolutely not. Up next, we head to the NBA and over-under.
Oh, yeah. The Milwaukee Bucks finally got a win in the NBA Finals, winning Game 3 last night, 120-100 over the Suns. Suns still lead the series 2-1. Over or under the Bucks getting 1 more win in this series?
I think the Bucks win the next 2.
Ooh.
I think what happened last night wasn't just a win for the Bucks. It was a complete complete erasing of the mental beatdown that they faced in games 1 and 2. Not the score beat down, because they got beat down that way too, but you can overcome that. What you can't overcome is being down 2-0 if you're mentally weak. But the Bucks, they've been down 0-2 quite a few times, and they've come back and they've handled the best punch of their opponents, and yet they find themselves still standing in the finals. I think that's what's happened here. The one good thing from the very beginning has been the fact that Giannis has played absolutely lights out in almost every single game. His numbers weren't great in game 1 technically, but he was coming off of an injury, and I think that those are great considering the hyperextension of his knee not even the week before that. So I am all in on saying that the Bucks win the next 2 and have a 3-2 lead, as they come back to Milwaukee. So
scary
that's going to be crazy. But that would, again, everything that we bashed Milwaukee for in games 1 and 2, that's exactly how Phoenix looked last night. Where was the adjustments for Phoenix? You didn't see a lot of, sometimes you can't make an adjustment for shots not falling, to be fair. But Devin Booker, when he has, 10 points, you're not winning. When Middleton's not scoring well for Milwaukee, you're not winning. When Chris Paul's not having his typical night, you're not winning. It's really just going to come down to who's going to show up. This is a fun finals. This isn't your typical finals that we've had in the past decade where you automatically know who's going to win heading into these. So I enjoy this. But if Milwaukee plays like they did last night, they're winning game 4, and I think they're going to take that momentum on the road and win at Phoenix in game 5. And then all of a sudden it becomes a very interesting race to the finish line. I think there's going to be game 7. Ultimately, Phoenix, I think, wins this series one way or another, but I think it's going to be handled in 7 at this point. But good for Giannis, man, because he hasn't – I've been worried about him. I've been waiting for him to have a bad game in the finals and everyone beat up on him. He's doing his thing. Mm-hmm. If they lose this series, he can come out on the other side and say, hey, I did my thing. You going to give me somebody? You going to go get me Dame? Are you going to go get me one of those guys on Nigeria that seem to be all world players? What are you going to do? Get me help.
Half of the Nigerian team plays for the Miami Heat.
They can send all of them to Milwaukee to get him over Miami. But
matter of fact, I'm going to get to my pick on this, but did you see how the Nigerian team trolled Bam Adebayo?
Oh, no.
So Bam, his parents are from Nigeria. He's a dual citizen and everything like that. He's playing for the U.S. and everything like that. They trolled him on Twitter and said, hey, you sure you want to roll with that team? you can come on home to the motherland.
I mean, why not? I mean, that dual citizen. I mean, I think Kevin Durant has that in the NBA. I think, I saw already too. By the way, it had Kevin Durant. Oh, my next chapter, and it was him wearing the Nigerian jersey or whatever. That was awesome. But we have that coming up in this over under. But so, by the way, you asked over under the Bucks getting one more win in the series. I have them winning 2 more, so I'm gonna take the over.
Okay, I'm gonna go on the other side. I'm gonna go with the under. I'm not.
What's up, Adele?
Yeah.
Hello.
I'm going under. Yeah, I'm with that. I'm gonna look at it from this perspective. Devin Booker not only was horrible, but he was 3 for 14, scoring 10 points. I don't see that happening again. And also, DeAndre Ayton, when he's off the floor, that's when Giannis went to work. They have nobody in the middle. With Sarge, his knee being messed up, him out for the rest of the series. When they put in my guy Frank the Tank from Wisconsin, he can't hold Giannis. Let's be clear. I'm a big Frank fan, but just from his days at Wisconsin, everything like that. But when DeAndre Ayton only plays 24 minutes and has 5 fouls, Milwaukee went on that run when Ayton wasn't in the game. Ayton was killing them. Ayton was killing them in the first half. It was really that stretch where after that great dunk by Cam Johnson, and they went on a run after Ayton went out. So when Ayton's not on the floor, it's trouble time for the Suns. And I don't see that happening again in this next game. This is an all-important game on Wednesday night, obviously for the Bucks, but super important for the Suns as well, because I'm with you. If the Suns lose game 4, I'm sorry, I think it's going 7, and I don't know if it's going to go in their favor, man, if it goes 7, because the best player on the court is Giannis. So when you go into a game 7 with the best player, you should like your chances, everything like that. I think it's critical for the Suns to win this next game and to have the opportunity to close it out in 5. So I'm going to go with the under. I'm going to have my faith in Chris Paul and Monty Williams to, get the young guys locked and loaded, because Mikal Bridges was a no-show. You know what I'm saying? The only guys that really showed up were the veterans outside of, DeAndre Ayton. Chris Paul showed up. Jake Crowder showed up. But the young guys that the Suns depend on, like Booker and Mikal Bridges,
where are you?
MIA.
And on top of that, too. But my thing is, so the Suns won game 1 at home. Giannis, first game back since hyperextending his knee, and they won 118-105, and that was kind of a pull away late in that game. They win game 2. They're not a great three-point shooter. They made 23s in game 2, and they only won by 10.
Yeah.
They make half of those threes. Let's just say they make 12 threes. I'm not saying there's no way they win, but Bucks have you only lost by 10 and you gave up 23 pointers against a not so great 3-point shooting team in Phoenix. And then yesterday, you're right. Look, if Phoenix plays just a little bit better, it's a much tighter ball game. But man, Milwaukee, the one thing you did not want to give up was that confidence. You did not want to give up that momentum. So in game 4, I kind of don't know who the Suns are, even though we felt very confident about them after games 1 and 2, because you won game 1, Giannis completely healthy, maybe doesn't miss games in the Eastern Conference Finals. Is that a different outcome? You hit 23s in game 2. You don't hit nearly as many threes in game 3. And look how discombobulated the offense looks. Again, it's the first finals appearance on the road for a lot of these guys. You see that atmosphere in Milwaukee, but we keep talking about Phoenix.
Chugging beers.
Unbelievable. It was just as crazy outside the arena as it was in the arena. So, I'm going to take the over. On to number 3, the home run derby tonight.
Yes, home run derby is tonight. Over or under 1.5 rounds for I can't pronounce this.
Shogo. Sorry, about to say Shogo Akiyama. Wrong one. Shohei Ohtani.
There you go for him in the home run derby tonight.
For one, so home run derby tonight, as you talked about, over under 1.5 rounds for Ohtani. 1.5 rounds. So the third round is the finals.
Okay.
And, of course, he is who everybody is talking about. Look, this dude is unbelievable. He's not just one of the best hitters in baseball. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. This is Babe Ruth type stuff that we're talking. That doesn't happen in modern baseball.
Right.
And he's living proof of why I've always asked, why can't pitchers hit?
Right.
Why can't they hit? Not like, why, at what point, let's be honest. At what point as a baseball player do you just become a guy that throws and doesn't know how to hit the ball?
Right.
Like, that's what I'll never understand. And clearly there's an obvious answer out there that it just hasn't been thrown at me, or at least one that I would like to hold on to and use moving forward. But sometimes these home run derbies don't always pan out the way you think. And that's why I'm going to say the under. I think that he's going to underwhelm people tonight in the home run derby, and that's totally fine. And I think that there's part of the Angels who are like, you know what? It's cool if he wins it, but they also know how sometimes this could totally mess with the swing. I've never been a big component in believing in that either, but it's kind of hard to ignore some of the examples, recent examples too. The numbers don't lie of how these guys just seem to plummet from a power standpoint coming out of the home run derby. I'm going to say under. I don't think he even makes it to the finals. I guess I saw today that no one has ever had more bets placed on them to win a home run derby than right now he has more bets placed on him than the rest of the field combined. So that right there is why I'm taking the field, because I just think that's not a high pressure thing, but this is a much different scenario than it is. Plus, you know what I read last week? This dude doesn't take batting practice. This dude doesn't take batting practice before games. Isn't that crazy? He never has. I found that to be absolutely fascinating that he doesn't take batting practice before games. So, again, to me, it's just a much different type of approach when you have a guy just lobbing a ball in at you and actually standing at the plate and just jacking out 100-mile-per-hour fastballs night in and night out. So I'm going to take the under, but the dude is a freaking show. He's leading off for the American League, and he's the starting pitcher for the American League. He's going to be on full display.
That is like high school type of stuff.
It's the way it should be. I just don't understand. I really don't. It's very frustrating, to be honest with you. So.
I'm going to go with the under as well, and I'll even give you my pick. I'm going to give you Salvador Perez winning this. I'm going off the radar because that's what happens in home run derbies. The lead guy, the show guy, the guy with the big name and everything like that, he performs well early, but it's the guy that has the most consistency, not the guy that has the big first round where he hits 20, 25 home runs, but the other guy just sticks around consistently hitting 15 home runs, and he still has a little more pop and a little more gas in the tank to win the whole home run derby. So that's who I'm going with. I'm going with Perez to win the home run derby, and I'm going with the under for Shogun.
I'm not picking this dude just because you picked him. You picked Salvador Perez. I'm picking Pete Alonso for the Mets. The dude's been, he was an all-star as a rookie. Maybe not, he's been fantastic since the beginning. Great power numbers. I think you're going to see Pete Alonso from the Mets in the finals going up against Trevor Story, just because sometimes I love seeing these cool things pan out, like we saw with Frazier with the Reds when the Cincinnati hosted the All-Star game. Then we saw how Jack Cincinnati was with him there. I think that momentum alone is going to carry Trevor Story into it. I think we've seen, when Washington hosted the All-Star game a few years ago, you also had Bryce Harper who got to the finals or whatever. And I think you'll see Trevor Story get there tonight. I think you'll see Pete Alonso get there tonight. But yeah, it's not a shot against Shohei Ohtani. I just don't believe he's going to get there. I think sometimes too much hype is just that, too much hype. I think the dude's good, but a guy that doesn't even take batting practice, I think I'm going to go against that. You see Stephen A. Smith today.
Oh, man.
Now, sometimes I got to be careful with how I approach this because I'm not defending what Stephen A. Smith said, but sometimes I think we all understand what he's trying to say, and instead we're running with it and just trying to, demonize Stephen A. because Stephen A. is so aggressive on if you say anything remotely close to being critical about African Americans, he decimates you, right? So it's like people are like, oh, you don't deserve the benefit of the doubt here. What I took away from what he was saying is that it is hard in America to have a face of a professional league that has to have a translator because it's not just about understanding what he is saying. It's mainly about the marketability of the guy in regards to, having that charisma or whatever. I don't know if I buy into that necessarily, but I do understand what he's trying to say. Who is the biggest non-American star in professional sports that has taken it and run with it? Even if you look in basketball right now with the Mavericks, Luka, he doesn't need a translator, right? I just think this has been grabbed and run with in a weird direction. Am I wrong for saying that, or what do you think?
I get what you're saying, but in Stephen A's case, he should understand that better than anybody. A person that is a fast talker from New York. If you know anyone from New York, they talk extremely fast. My aunt is from New York, and half the time I don't know what she's saying, and she raised me. And and also Stephen A has a speech impediment as well. So for a person that has a speech impediment and you're a fast talking New Yorker, you probably should have some type of sensitivity for somebody that, is from a foreign country, doesn't speak, the language that is spoken here. I get what you're saying. And I also get what Stephen A is saying. I think his approach was just Wrong.
When you read the headline, Stephen A. Smith
Yes.
says, because you can't speak English, you can't be the face of a league. Instead of people trying to understand what he's trying to say and say that barrier could be what keeps him from connecting with enough fans. But again, it's Stephen A. Smith who's super polarizing, and I understand why people are going to take and run with it. I'm not even defending him because he did one damn promo for the show. All I'm saying is I didn't hear it like that. But when I heard it, I said, oh no, here we go. And sure enough, it took off that way. But, yeah.
Is Otani with Nike? Because if he's with Nike, he'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah, and again, I think what it's coming down to from Stephen A. Smith is saying that baseball has been looking for that face of the sport. Like the NBA has LeBron, right? Like, the NFL has Tom Brady. And this isn't a race thing. This is just do you have the face of your organization? Can you connect with the fans? Right. Shohei Ohtani is going to connect with the fans based on his numbers and numbers alone. But can the language barrier be what keeps him from expanding as a even bigger star? I don't think there's any racism in that comment or anything like that. But I do understand why people are taking it and running with it. But at the end of the day, look, you want to use Kawhi Leonard as an example? I like when people are like, well, Ohtani's numbers will speak for themselves. Yeah, well, Kawhi Leonard's numbers are pretty damn good. And no one thinks of him as the face of the NBA post LeBron. No one brings him up. And why? Because he doesn't have a personality that connects with the fans. I still see why, again, not defending Stephen A's point to the degree where I'm saying if you don't speak, English, that you can't relate to all fans. But I do understand what he's trying to say. And no one has a good example out there of anyone that's been the face of a professional sport that has as much of a language barrier as him. So I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I know it's a weird line to walk. It's a dangerous line to walk, but at the same time, people stop. I know it's Stephen A. Smith, and you guys just look for him to even remotely trip so you could take what he says and run with it. And he said some crazy things in the past, but I don't think this was that crazy. I think we all understand where he's coming from, but it's easy to take the headline and say, oh man, he said if you don't speak English in our country, you can't make it here. That's one way to spin it to try to fit a narrative. I can understand it, but I just didn't hear it that way, I guess.
No problem. Number 4. Oh, man. Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier 3 went down on Saturday night. Conor lost the fight by TKO in the first round. So over or under 2.5 more UFC fights for McGregor in his Hall of Fame career.
One more. Has there ever been a fight as big as that has happened 4 times?
Not in UFC that I know of.
It's coming. It's coming. He said this ain't over. With 1.5 legs, he said this ain't over.
He said a lot of other things too.
I think that he did. I love Conor McGregor. I'm watching it with also my closest friends, and I'm the only one in the room pulling for Conor McGregor. I was bowing down to Conor. I love Conor McGregor. And you know what I love at the end? And this is where the smack talker in me comes into play. He's sitting down there with his leg parallel to his shin. And he's sitting there still talking smack. He can't even walk or run if Poirier comes at him, and he's bringing up his wife. He's bringing up his mother. He's bringing up he's checking off all the boxes of the don'ts whenever you're smack talking, and he didn't care. So I'm a big Conor fan. I love that element about him. Yes, he does cross the line, but at the same time, if Dana White didn't want him to cross the line, he would not have crouched down to put a mic in front of his face. That's what Dana wanted. That's what UFC wanted. And let's not lie, that's what we all wanted. I got ticked off the last time he lost, and we talked about that with DC when he came on the show with us, which was one of my favorite interviews we've ever done here. I was ticked off, and Conor McGregor was doing the whole, he's a great fighter. I really respect him. And I'm like, boo. No one wants that. No one wants you to shake hands. Conor did exactly what we all wanted him to do. And yet, once again, we're choosing to be offended by what he said afterwards. Whatever. I'm not saying I should say that or you should say that or anybody, but that's what that sport is in, it's detailed, but I don't know.
That's exactly what all combat sports are. We want the heel. We want the bad guy. And people love the bad guy. I mean, he was quoting Tony Montana on Instagram after the fight and everything like that. You need a guy like me. But I think this is all smoke because I think this is all just an act. And I mean, I know it was partially an act before, but this is all for the show. And I'm going to go with the under because at some point people are going to realize, man, that this dude ain't got it no more. Like, all he is talk. He's lost a lot of, well, not a lot of fights, but since he's got that payday, he hasn't been the same fighter. And, we talked about it before, especially on Friday, about, when he gets on the ground, he's not a good fighter. And we were talking about it before we jumped on the air today about he had old boy in the Kamara hold and everything like that. He wiggled his way out and then he started ground and pounding him and he looked done. To me, he looked done. Now, I'm no aficionado in MMA or anything like that, but he looked like he was shot. So I'm gonna go with the under for UFC fights. But what people have to realize, there's more than one place that he can fight MMA fights. This is just the biggest brand out there for them. And you brought up a great point on Friday. WWE is just waiting for him to
those exhibition fights. I mean, those
he
whatever.
Could go and make millions and millions of dollars without actually taking this type of punishment, and he's smart enough to realize that. So I'm gonna go with the under. I'm gonna say he goes for one more, one of these type of fights. Probably loses again, and then just takes his fame and his mouth to WWE or some exhibition fights and starts cashing checks that way. He's way too smart enough to be getting beat up like this. He's smarter than that, man. Like, that was a nasty injury that he just suffered on Saturday night, and he caught a beat down before the leg even broke, man. So I'm gonna.
You think he was getting beat down before?
Yeah.
I mean, he almost had that one.
So of the 5 minutes that fight went on, he got beat up for 4 of them. 3 of them.
Maybe my homerism's coming out of me. I'm just a big Conor.
The hold that he had on him for a minute, and then the 40-something seconds where they were just pawing at each other. But other than that, like, once he got up out the hold, it was ground and pound. And I mean, Conor McGregor ain't good on the ground.
No, and what's funny about that too? I'll give Poirier this. There was 11 seconds on the clock, and usually sometimes guys are like, okay, let's just separate. Let's let that time go. And I think Conor, that's one thing that he kind of stepped back to, is because I think he was expecting that. I give Poirier credit because he kept coming at him. He's like, no, so I give him that. But the reason I'm big on McGregor coming back is mainly because of this. Is the fact that fight ended because he broke his leg, not because he broke his leg from a hold, not because he broke his leg because he got punched in the face and then stumbled backwards. I mean, it was kind of a weird, clumsy, random. I mean, you're this big badass fighter and you take a step back and your leg crumbles. I mean, whatever. It was beaten up from earlier in the fight or whatever. But no, I think that we might see this fight again because of how it ended. It didn't end in a knockout. Technically, I mean, it was by TKO. It didn't technically end in a way that Poirier just overwhelmed him.
Right.
I think Poirier was most likely going to probably go on to win that. But because he didn't definitively, and that's why he ticked me off also. Don't be running around the ring all excited. Like, he got hurt. You didn't hurt him. He got hurt. There is a difference. So knock it off. You sound like the Raptors who beat up Golden State Warriors team.
He's 2-1. He's 2-1. The record goes say Poirier 2-1 versus McGregor.
All right. This one we'll do wrap up quick because we do got Phil Steele coming up. We moved Phil Steele. Phil Steele just texted us a little bit ago. We're going to push him back to 4:15. So we do have Phil Steele coming up, but he's not available yet. So we'll get to him shortly. The last one here, Team USA basketball. We lightly touched on it.
Yes. Team USA basketball lost the exhibition match to Nigeria over the weekend. So over or under 1.5 more losses for the U.S. moving forward before the summer games.
I think they're fine. This was an exhibition game, and you got to understand, some of these guys are coming right out. Look, why are we all surprised? Because it's Nigeria. I mean this respectfully, but why are we so surprised that they lost? It's not that they lost. It's who they lost to. So because it's Nigeria and they're looking across at Nigeria, an exhibition game at that, these guys are probably thinking, look, we don't really need an exhibition game. Half of us just got knocked out of the playoffs not even 2 or 3 weeks ago. Do you really think we need a tune-up game? Some of these guys are used to playing with stars already as it is. So look, I mean, Kevin Durant and James Harden, Kyrie have improved. You don't have to play together to have enough chemistry to win, right? Injuries is what kept them from winning. So to me, I just think that they looked at that and did not approach it mentally tough or whatever. They have to know that they're going to get every team's best shot in an exhibition game. It doesn't matter if it's 3-on-3, 1-on-1, 5-on-5 exhibition or for the gold. That was a bigger game for Nigeria than what it was for Team USA. It was an exhibition game. They're not going to lose the rest of the way. You have Kevin Durant. You have Jason Tatum. You have Dame Lillard. They're going to get Devin Booker and Middleton, a lot of these guys from the finals here in a few weeks. They'll be fine. They're not losing another one. So I'm going to take an under 1.5 more losses moving forward as we approach the Summer Olympics. Under. The Team USA is not losing again. They're coming home with the gold.
I'm going to go with the under as well. Just something that people got to realize, like the NBA and FIBA basketball, the Olympics and everything like that, it's the same game, but it's different rules. It's almost like if you try to drop an NBA player into high school basketball. The moves that James Harden gets away with every single day in the NBA. A high school referee is taught to call everything by the letter of the law. It's going to be traveling. And I can't tell you how many times that I saw Zach LaVine, Tatum, and Dame get called for travel on Saturday. Basically every time they touch the ball. And technically it's a travel. In the NBA, it's not traveling, but in there, you have to dribble before you even move. So that thing, you have to get adjusted to that. You also have to get adjusted to the lane rules. You also have to get adjusted to, the goaltending rule. Once the ball's on the rim, you can knock it off. Like those small things that you don't think about, those come into a play. More and more they play together as a team, and more run they get to going, more exhibitions going. They get their rhythm. They get the ball to drop in their way. They'll be perfectly fine. They'll bring home the goal as they should.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Hour 2 coming up next. In Hour 2, we'll talk all things college football with Phil Steele. The Phil Steele's College Football Preview magazine is officially out, and we got our copy today, which is perfect timing as we'll chat with him coming up here around the corner. The biggest threat to the Buckeyes in the Big Ten is who? How much should we be worried about Oregon? He's going to talk to us about that matchup. Plus, we'll take a look at the 4 playoff teams that all lost their quarterback from a season ago. Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, all 4 playoff teams from a season ago approach the 2021 season with a new starting quarterback. What does that mean for the landscape of college football? That's all coming up in our conversation with Phil Steele in Hour 2.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Goodyear knows the importance of keeping momentum as you head down the stretch. Momentum starts with movement. It's pulled from the air like a contested rebound. Momentum builds with steals and fast breaks, and is proven by deep threes as the shot clock expires. Momentum is how we change the game, and now it's time to discover where it can take us. Goodyear, more driven.
Trade pros. Whether you specialize in service or new construction, Ferguson knows firsthand how much work goes into a long day on the job, which is why we're committed to offering the products and solutions to get every job done right. With over 1,000 locations, an unmatched selection of specialty products, tools, and supplies, our pro pickup and same or next day delivery, you can trust that doing business with Ferguson will be the easiest part of your hard day's work. Visit Ferguson.com to find a counter location near you.
Tired of deciding what to cook tonight? Frickers is ready when you are with everyone's favorite ribs and frickin' chicken chunks. Tender baby back ribs and frickin' chicken chunks, only $12.99 dine-in only. Take the day off as kids 10 and under eat free every day. And you can relax and let Frickers take care of everything. Baby back ribs, frickin' chicken chunks, and kids eat free at the one place that makes lunch, dinner, or late night easy. The home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Baby back. Baby back.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
O'Reilly.
Ready for your next road trip? Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts to get everything you need to stay safe while traveling. Visibility on the road is so important and so easy to achieve. Get your windshield streak-free and crystal clear with Blue Magic Glass Cleaner. On sale now, 2 for $5. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Lisa and payroll, hello.
Lisa? Hi, it's Jim at the home office. Any particular reason why your mailroom clerk makes $2.7 million a year?
Well, he's really good, you know.
Is it time to update your payroll network? Call the certified professionals at Arrowhead Tax Accounting and Payroll Services in New Carlisle at 937-543-5770. Arrowhead Tax Accounting and Payroll Services. Our target is your satisfaction.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
Mattress Firm's 4th of July sale has been extended. Hurry in and get a king bed for the price of a queen or a queen for a twin. Plus, get a free adjustable base with qualifying Sealy purchase. Or save $500 on all Tempur-Pedic Breeze mattresses. With our low price guarantee, you can rest assured you'll get the best bed at the best price. Only at Mattress Firm. Offer valid with qualifying purchase. Restrictions apply. Valid at participating locations only. For offer details, visit mattressfirm.com/sale.
Your experience matters. At University of Phoenix, relevant life experience and eligible transfer credits can help you earn your degree faster and for less. In fact, undergrads who apply these credits, on average, save about 1 year and $11,000. Get the credit you deserve for time spent in the classroom, on the job, and in life. And see how much you can save at phoenix.edu. That's phoenix.edu.
Goodyear knows the importance of keeping momentum as you head down the stretch. Momentum starts with movement. It's pulled from the air like a contested rebound. Momentum builds with steals and fast breaks, and is proven by deep threes as the shot clock expires. Momentum is how we change the game. And now it's time to discover where it can take us. Goodyear, more driven. It's time for some straight talk. We've all been there. You have some real work to do, but the free Wi-Fi where you're working isn't going to cut it. It's like leaving the winning runner stranded on third base. Not good. Well, now you can be your own hotspot with Straight Talk's Ultimate Unlimited plan. Get 10 gigs of hotspot data for just $55 a month. All on America's largest, most dependable networks. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. Compatible device required. See straighttalk.com.
Staples Connect has everything to help you get ready for back to school with amazing prices for everything on your list. Visit your local Staples store, staplesconnect.com, and be more than ready for school. Staples.
Welcome to another episode of Ask Tomorrow. I'm your host, Tomorrow. Better sleep makes for a better me, and Casper's cooling collection has everything hot sleepers need to keep cool all night long, like the Wave Hybrid Snow Mattress for over 12 hours of cooler sleep. Okay, next caller.
Hi, Tomorrow. I need to break up with my boyfriend. Any suggestions?
Get him a breathable mattress protector. It helps hot sleepers stay cool.
I think I'll just go with flowers.
Yeah, none of my exes appreciated the mattress protector either. Casper, love your Tomorrow.
O'Reilly.
Ready for your next road trip? Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts to get everything you need to stay safe while traveling. Visibility on the road is so important and so easy to achieve. Get your windshield streak-free and crystal clear with Blue Magic Glass Cleaner. On sale now, 2 for $5. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly.
Ready for your next road trip? Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts to get everything you need to stay safe while traveling. Visibility on the road is so important and so easy to achieve. Get your windshield streak-free and crystal clear with Blue Magic Glass Cleaner. On sale now, 2 for $5. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Credit Karma has always been there to help you make better financial decisions, and now they want to help even more. Credit Karma Money is a brand new checking account where you can win cash reimbursements for debit purchases. And when you make a purchase between July 1st and July 23rd, you'll be automatically entered to win $1 million. Go to creditkarma.com/winmoney. That's creditkarma.com/winmoney. Instant Karma is sponsored by Credit Karma. No purchase necessary. Exclusions and terms apply. See rules. Banking services provided by MVB Bank, Inc. Member FDIC. Maximum balance and transfer limits apply.
Marcus by Goldman Sachs offers personal loans with no fees, ever. Banks offer coffee. So what's more important? A Marcus by Goldman Sachs loan with no fees that could help consolidate debt, or bank coffee that tastes like bank coffee? you can money. Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving, borrowing, and investing from Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Investing involves risk and investments may lose value. Brokerage and investment advisory services by Goldman Sachs & Company, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC. Lending and deposits products provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC.
This is a big deal. Now, at healthcare.gov, millions more people can afford health coverage. Due to the COVID relief law, 4 out of 5 customers can get a plan for under $10 a month with financial help. From doctor visits to preventive services to prescription drugs, these are quality plans. You can do this. You can have coverage as soon as August 1st if you sign up now at healthcare.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Don't lose out on the perfect house. Get pre-approved today with our 5-minute loan approval, thehomeloanexpert.com.
The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely, like, good evening, officer. A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says I'm a catch more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Want free Reds tickets? How about a free MLB Network Reds bag? Maybe a Reds bobblehead? Here's an idea. How about we combine them all together and give you a chance to win a free WING Reds prize pack presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Register daily at wingam.com. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, we are back. Hour 2, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash. So Phil Steele, we'll talk with him here in 10 minutes, 11 minutes to be exact. He'll call into the show at 4:20. Excited to chat with him. We'll talk all things college football, which I'm pretty jacked about when it comes to that, especially talking a little Big Ten. Talk some Bearcats, too. You know, for a team that I've been oh, no, that's Cincinnati. It's not a Power 5 school. This is for the elitists, okay? I don't have time for the little bear cats, little bear kittens. Actually, they're bear cats this year. They have a chance. Like, if they don't make the playoff, it's all on them. What I mean by that, they could still be screwed over, and I will be on their side. But if they beat Indiana and they beat Notre Dame and they take care of their conference, which everyone anticipates that happening, and they don't make it, that's a problem. That's a problem. But I think the one thing they have going for them is the fact that they're on the radar of the committee already. Right. But then again, you could have said the same thing about UCF years ago. Remember when they had the back-to-back undefeated seasons, at least in the – I thought UCF would have been on their radar more coming in. But UCF also didn't have any big marquee wins in the non-conference that year. This is why I think this is different than that. Cincinnati, if you beat Indiana at Indiana and you beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame, and the stars have kind of aligned to where Indiana's not a bad win anymore. That's a good win. All right. That's a good size win.
Indiana has to do their part, though.
Yeah. It's like, so they do technically need help, but at the same time, you know.
Yeah. Indiana has to do their part. Indiana has to play to the standard that they did last year.
Oh, Kev, just shut up. Just stop talking. Yeah. Stop talking. Yeah. Shaw said they won't. So just don't worry about it. So,
never mind.
So we just move on.
Let's close out the show. Gotta go home, bro.
Finish your point. I'm just joking. Finish your point.
But I was bullish on Indiana last year, and I'm not sure how they're going to be this year. Last year, I was pretty high on Indiana, how they were going to play, but they got a ton of transfers coming in. Also, Penix Jr. is coming off that knee injury and everything like that. They're still got a lot of good starters on defense, but some of those guys are in the pros right now. That's why I was bullish on them last year. Like, they were returning all 11 starters on defense. This year, I think they're only returning, quote unquote, only 8 guys off their defense from last year. But Indiana has to do their part. Indiana can, to help, so to speak, UC, they can only lose to UC and lose to Ohio State. They have to win the rest of their games for that still to remain a good win for UC. You know what I mean? And then Notre Dame, obviously, on paper, that's always a good victory to have. And, I think that they can win both of those games. I think UC can win both of those games. But, they're going to need help, especially from Indiana, for that to remain a good victory, as opposed to just being, man, that's Indiana. Who cares? You know what I mean? So Indiana has to hold up their end of the bargain and not lose prior to playing the UC and only lose to Ohio State the rest of the way.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, too, that I'll be curious about is because I think that the stars that need to line up perfectly, too, is, yes, they need to beat Notre Dame, needing to beat Indiana. But the Pac-12 is going to play a role in whether Cincinnati gets in, and kind of the SEC as well. The Big Ten is a one-bid. I mean, if we use that, we don't really use that in college football, but they're Buckeyes, and that's
the Horizon League, bro.
They're the Buckeyes, and that's it. Okay, Clemson, or the ACC is Clemson, and that's it. I know, SEC bias, yada yada yada. If you don't buy into Georgia, okay, you're just trying too hard to not understand football. So just please stop. You're wasting your time and ours and everybody else's. The SEC can get 2 in.
Yeah,
it could be Bama and Georgia, and then Ohio State, Clemson. Notre Dame could run the table and surprise some folks, and they could make things interesting at the end, too. If USC steps up, they were undefeated last year, right? I believe, in just the shortened season. Of course, Oregon, let's say Oregon upsets Ohio State. Ohio State has flaws, people. Like, I know it's Ohio State, and we act like it's the Titanic, the version that doesn't sink. But every once in a while, it can crack a big enough iceberg to make things interesting. I don't know how big of an iceberg Oregon is, but don't be surprised. I mean, Oregon could pull that off. It wouldn't be that unlikely that, you know what I mean? Like, Ohio State's going to be the favorite, and they should be. But Oregon has an opportunity. They could put the Pac-12 on the map if they can upset Ohio State early in the season. So we shall see.
Man,
I'm not putting my money on Oregon.
I wouldn't put my money on Oregon. It would have to be a Virginia Tech performance from Oregon's defense. Now, they got guys on that defense. Thibodeau, he's going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. He's an edge rusher. He's a beast, and all those great phrases everybody loves to use. But he is that guy. So it's going to need to be a Virginia Tech defensive performance from Oregon, because I just don't see them traveling to Ohio State at a noon kick and beating us. You got to think it's 9:00 in the morning where they're from by the time that game is kicking off. So I see Ohio State winning that game and winning that game convincingly.
All right, so we'll chat about all of that coming up. Phil Steele, he has his 2021 college football preview magazine out. I have my copy right here in my hands. We just tweeted it out that he's going to be joining us here at 4:20. So I'm excited about that. We'll talk about all things Ohio State, college football. The biggest threat to the Buckeyes in the Big Ten is who? How much of a threat is Oregon? And what I'm curious about, Kev, he talks to almost every coach out there imaginable. And these are all updated rosters. How do you do that with the damn transfer portal just being a constant revolving door? When we talk transfer portal, it's 99% of the time usually about the college basketball transfer portal. We never hear too much about how busy the football one is, and it is very clogged. It's very busy. The problem is you don't recognize all the names in there as much as you do in college basketball. Right. So that's where it kind of gets a little, it overlaps there. So
it's still only 24 hours in the day, right?
Pretty much.
How does he do it? He has
a good team. Him and his team. 23 years. It's been the most accurate magazine for over 23 years, it says here. So there you go. Phil Steele joins us next. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk all things Buckeyes, Ohio State, college football, and more. Don't go anywhere.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy with showers and thunderstorms, a high near 83. Tonight will be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a low around 70. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a high near 82. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces at your home, office, or commercial property. Introducing infrared patching, a new technology for your property. This service and more at culletsealcoating.com.
This is a big deal. Now at healthcare.gov, millions more people can afford health coverage. Due to the COVID relief law, 4 out of 5 customers can get a plan for under $10 a month with financial help. From doctor visits to preventive services to prescription drugs, these are quality plans. You can do this. You can have coverage as soon as August 1st if you sign up now at healthcare.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
I need some backup. I got to get these trucks to Tuscaloosa by Tuesday.
Trevor's Trucking needs 3 18-wheeler drivers with commercial licenses ASAP, or his company will stall.
If we don't move the rigs before this weekend, we're going to be in trouble.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The moment you fire up a Gator UTV, the engine has your full attention. The completed job is on the horizon, and the trail meets its match. Just like that, you made short work of a long to-do list. Run with us on a John Deere Gator UTV with effortless 4-wheel drive at the flip of the switch and our smoothest shifting transmission yet. Nothing runs like a Deere. Search John Deere Gator for more.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000.
East Clearwater Revival. And on the same night, John performs solo hits as well. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com and the Rose Music Center box office.
What if I told you you could save 50% off your monthly cell phone bill without sacrificing your service? This is Jill Schlesinger, CBS News business analyst, and I'm talking about H2O Wireless. If you're with AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, you're just paying too much. Listen to this. You can get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data for just $36 a month. That means the average person is probably saving $400 a year. You might use that to fund your emergency reserve fund or pay down some credit card bills or put some money in your retirement plan. And switching is so easy. You can keep your phone, keep your number. You just have to swap out your SIM card. You get the same great service you currently have, but at half the price. Right now, you can save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword get H2O. That's pound 250 and say keyword get H2O to start saving today.
Staples Connect has everything to help you get ready for back to school with amazing prices for everything on your list. Visit your local Staples store, staplesconnect.com, and be more than ready for school. Staples.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on The Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. on Twitter? Make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
We're embarking closer and closer on the upcoming 2021 college football season, and anytime we have an excuse to talk college football, we always love to jump on that opportunity, especially in the dog days of summer here in mid-July. Just released recently, of course, and I have it actually physically here in my hand. It's the College Football Preview Magazine, Phil Steele's College Football Preview Magazine, the 2021 edition. Every single team covered in this magazine, and we can't wait to talk with Phil about it as he joins us now. Mr. Phil Steele, welcome. How are you, sir?
I am doing great. How about you gentlemen this afternoon?
Real good. Not too bad, especially as I mentioned, we love talking college football, and this definitely gives us an excuse to dive into it, not just around the Buckeyes, but around the entire college football landscape. I do want to start off with this because we know how much work you put into this, you and your team, and it's unbelievable. And it's difficult when, I know it's difficult when you're just trying to update every single team in the country, but when you add the transfer portal into the mix, Phil, how much of a bump in the road does that create for you and your team? What kind of roadblocks does that create?
Well, the good news is we go to the press later than the other magazines out there. We didn't go to the press until June 15th this year, and the transfer portal basically closed on July 1st, whereas players that could opt out and still play this year. So we were able to capture, I think, the majority, 95, 96% of the transfers. Give you an example. There was a player for Nebraska, Luke McCaffrey, and he had transferred to Louisville as a backup quarterback. And then at the end of May, he opts to hit the transfer portal once again. So I'm like, I guess we're not going to know where he's playing. And then on June 13th, Coach Bloomgren of Rice gave me a call and said, Phil, we got him. We got Luke McCaffrey's coming here. So we were able to put him on the Rice page, put him in at the quarterback spot, rewrite the quarterback position, rewrite the offense position, rewrite the thing. It made it a little more hectic because it was 2 days before we were going to the press, but at least we were able to get him on the page and get him in there as a starting quarterback. So I think we captured about 95% of the players in the transfer portal, but it made it a lot more hectic those final days of the magazine.
You talked about the transfer portal. We are familiar with names like Mackenzie Milton transferring to Florida State, Jack Cohen from Wisconsin to Notre Dame. Who are some of the other transfers out there we should keep an eye on for this season?
Oh, there's just so many of them that you could go over. There's even an Ohio State wide receiver that transferred to Alabama. So, I mean, there's just so many big-time transfers that are going to make an impact this year.
Phil Steele with us here on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Phil, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, 3 of the 4 playoff teams from a season ago, but all 3 of these teams, they have a new quarterback situation, of course. Mac Jones in the NFL, as well as Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. You look at these 3 powerhouses, you trust the programs to lose a quarterback and replace them with another great quarterback. That's been some of the biggest storylines over the last decade with these 3. When you look at the new starting quarterbacks for all 3 of these programs, and some of them we're not 100% sure yet, but Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, which quarterback situation do you believe is going to be the most easy flowing, I should say, heading into the 21 season?
I think the one that looks to be in the best shape at the start would be Clemson with DJ Uiagalelei, because he got in 2 starts last year, and he played in some big games, Boston College, Notre Dame. They put up 38 points per game with him there. He's got a good supporting cast on the offensive line and the receivers. Bryce Young of Alabama does not have that type of starting experience, but he is a very dynamic athlete. I think he's going to step right in and do well with Alabama. He's, of course, surrounded by talent. I don't think he's going to match Mac Jones' 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions from last year, but he also adds more mobility to the position. And with Ohio State, this is the first time since 1952 that Ohio State has had 0 career starts returning at the quarterback position. But I think C.J. Stroud wins that job, and at the end of the year, he's probably one of the top, probably the top or one of the top quarterbacks in the Big Ten, and probably on the list of the Heisman finalists, because he's an Ohio State quarterback and he's throwing to the best set of receivers in the country.
With that, so with those new faces we're talking about, and again, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, and a combo between Mac Jones and Tua Tagovailoa have been the face of the quarterbacks in college football the last couple of years. A complete reset across the board. I know Spencer Rattler's out there as a familiar face, and Hal from North Carolina, but who are going to be the big time quarterbacks that are returning that have familiarity with starting? What are some of the big name quarterbacks to keep an eye on heading into this season that we're going to look at the end of the year and say, oh yeah, that's one of the faces of college football right now?
Yeah, I'll throw a couple of them at you. I've got Spencer Rattler as my Heisman favorite coming into the season. He's got a very potent offense, and as you know, whenever Lincoln Riley has an experienced quarterback, they've got 2 Heisman trophies out of the 3 years he's had an experienced quarterback and a Heisman finalist in the other. Sam Howell lost both his top 2 running backs and top 2 receivers from last year, but he is very talented, and I think when you look at his passing numbers, they'll be just as good as last year. Matt Corral of Ole Miss. To Lane Kiffin offense. He did well last year in his first year as a starter, should have a big year. Keaton Slovis of USC led an undefeated USC during the regular season last year, and he wasn't 100% healthy. I think he will be 100% healthy this year, led a lot of big-time comebacks. De'Ara King of Miami of Florida, he suffered that ACL in the bowl game, but I think he will be 100%. And then how about Michael Penix of Indiana? Also injured last year, but a very dynamic quarterback for the Hoosiers, and I expect big things out of Indiana as well.
Another team we cover here in Ohio is the UC Bearcats. Obviously, Coach Fickle used to be a former Buckeye and everything like that, so we always keep an eye on everything going on with the Bearcats. With Desmond Ridder back at the QB spot for them, what are your expectations for the Bearcats?
I'm super bullish on Cincinnati this year. In fact, I think I believe they will open up the season in the AP top 10, which is a great start. Last year, they finished number 8 in the country. They've got 14 returning starters coming back. You talked about an NFL caliber quarterback in Desmond Ridder. I thought Ridder struggled in the first couple of games last year, then really came on and showed his potential. He's going to have probably his best season yet. You look at that offensive line that they've got, it's outstanding. The defense, of course, is top-notch. And I think when you look at Cincinnati's schedule this year, week 3, they're going to play a ranked Indiana on the road. Now, I rate that game almost a toss-up. I think they got a great shot at going in there and getting the win. If they do, and they enter the season in the top 10, they bump up a little bit, and then 2 weeks later, they play Notre Dame in South Bend. We talked about how experienced Cincinnati is. Notre Dame only has 9 returning starters this year. So once again, they've got a shot there. And if they were to pull those 2 upsets on the road against ranked teams, you'd see them bump up even higher. I think Cincinnati's actually got a shot at getting into the 14 playoff if things break their way this year, because they'll enter the season number 10. I do think they have a shot at running the table, and this could be a very special Cincinnati team.
One of those crazy connections that obviously with the Bearcats and Notre Dame and Ohio State football is Marcus Freeman. He left UC to become the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. What do you think the ripple effect is going to be on not only the Bearcats, but, Marcus Freeman now being the DC at Notre Dame and also bringing that recruiting element that he does?
Yeah, I think in the future, the recruits, we'll see what the recruiting loss does to Cincinnati. This year, they're well stocked on the defensive side of the ball. And the good thing is, Coach Fickle's not going to drastically change the system because he loses his coordinator. So I think Cincinnati's defense will be just fine this year. As far as what Freeman steps into at Notre Dame, he's taken over at defense. It was pretty good last year, and he's got 6 returning starters coming back. So I think he's done well with the Irish, and I think Cincinnati will do just fine. But it would probably be my biggest concern heading into the year as far as the Cincinnati defense is the loss of Freeman.
Phil, Cincinnati's fascinating to me because I think that they're really I think that the committee is keeping an eye on them because the Cincinnati is a pain in the arse to the committee side, in my opinion, because they're going to keep putting the pressure on the committee, as far as if there's ever a time to put a non-Power 5 team in the playoff in the current format, this would probably be it, as long as things fall in their favor, as you talked about. They have everything. They control. They have a good chance to control their own destiny to a degree. You talked about the 2 big non-conference games, Indiana and the Notre Dame. And then, of course, if they take care of business in their conference and win the conference championship, then they're set. But they do need help around them. They need some other teams, conferences to flounder a bit. And I think that if there's a conference out there that's going to put 2 teams in, that's a problem. If the Pac-12 decides they want to actually live up to being a Power 5 conference, that's a problem. What's the Pac-12? Because I look at the Pac-12 as being the one roadblock that's going to be in the way of Cincinnati. What does the Pac-12 look like? Do you believe that this is the season that they finally get a team in the college football playoff in the current 14 format?
Yeah, and the good news for Cincinnati is you take a look at the when I talked to the head coaches this year, I talked to about 130 head coaches, how experienced they are this year. Cincinnati's got 14 returning starters. Everybody's got 14, 15, 16 returning starters. The 4 teams that made the playoff last year have like 9, 10, 11 returning starters, and all lose their starting quarterback. So if there's ever going to be a year to knock off the big boys, this would probably be it, because everybody is so experienced, with the exception of those 4 teams that actually made the playoff last year. Now, as far as the Pac-12 goes, it is a very experienced conference. Now, do keep in mind, they only played anywhere between 4 and 6 games for the teams last year. But give you an example, Colorado has 16 returning starters. Generally, that's going to rank you second or third best in the conference. That's actually second fewest returning starters in the Pac-12. I think Cincinnati's best bet, though, is that the Pac-12 is so deep and rounded at the top that you're going to see teams knocking each other off. For example, in the South, USC has to go on the road and play Arizona State. Arizona State has to go on the road and play Utah, and Utah has to go on the road and play USC. USC also has to play Notre Dame during the year. So I can see each of the Pac-12 teams coming up with a loss or two, and that would open up the door for Cincinnati.
Yeah, Phil, one of the things that I'm super excited about with college football in general is fans returning to the stadium. I think this is going to be like the best college football season of all time, just simply coming off a year where there was so much uncertainty, canceled games left and right, makeup games and everything like that. What is your expectations for the fan base this season?
I think we're going to see the biggest home field edges this year that we've seen, even bigger than 2019, for exactly what you touched on. Last year, so many, heading into the season, are we playing football? Are we going to play football? No fans in the stands, not allowed to attend games. Talking to the coaches, generally spring practice can sometimes be a little bit of a drudgery. Almost every coach said the players just came in thrilled to be at spring practice. So I think we're going to see the same thing out of the fans, just thrilled to be back in the stadium. Loud. I believe we're going to have just huge home field edges this year after playing in crowdless stadiums last year.
All right, Phil Steele again. Phil Steele's College Football Preview 2021 magazine is officially out. It's jam-packed with information, as it says here on the cover. The most accurate magazine over the last 23 years. Phil, send us out with this. We are an Ohio State Buckeye affiliate, and again, Buckeyes. It's just it's a huge following over here. Send us out with the biggest threat to the Buckeyes in the Big Ten. Is it Indiana with Michael Penix Jr., as you mentioned earlier? Wisconsin has a very solid quarterback situation. What does the landscape of the Big Ten look like to you in regards to who the Buckeyes should be most concerned about heading into this season?
Yeah, I actually have Ohio State a double-digit favorite in every single game this year during the regular season. So I'm pretty comfortable with them getting to the Big Ten title game, and I think that game would be their biggest concern. Wisconsin is a team that has got the big offensive line. Last year, they only averaged 3.9 yards per carry. They usually average 5 or 6. They have 4 what I call VHT running backs available this year, which is something they really lacked last year. They'll have the run game. They've got Graham Mertz, a quarterback, who I think will be one of the better quarterbacks in the NCAA, the tough defense. And, look at the last 2 times Wisconsin played Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. They gave them a run in both 17 and 19. So I think Ohio State's biggest test in the Big Ten this year would be the Big Ten title game if they manage to face Wisconsin. And, one quick note for your listeners out there today, if they're out looking for the magazine, save them a little bit of gas money. We are exclusively at Barnes & Noble and Books A Million this year. Barnes & Noble and Books A Million to get the magazine. So don't be looking for it all over the place, but 352 pages.
All right. Well, make sure to tweet out the link. In fact, that's how I got the book. I got the digital copy and the physical print right in my hands. I'll make sure we get that link out to everybody, Phil, so that everyone knows where they get their hands on this copy. I just got this text sent in. They wanted your opinion on how big of a threat is that Oregon non-conference matchup for Ohio State. That's what we'll send you out with.
Oregon's a really good team this year. They've got a great offensive line with Mario Cristobal. Last year, they had 0 returning starters on the offensive line. This year, the entire unit's back. Anthony Brown gives them a run threat at the quarterback position. They're deep at running back, deep at receiver. And I think Mario Cristobal's done a great job building this team. I have Ohio State a 10-point favorite in that one, and I do think the Buckeyes win. But it's probably going to be, during the regular season, their toughest game on the schedule.
All right, Phil Steele, the College Football Preview 2021 magazine is officially out. We'll tweet out the link where you can get a copy of this magazine. Phil, thank you so much. We look forward to this conversation every year, and we're getting closer and closer to the season, and we can't wait.
Yeah, myself as well. Really looking forward to it, and always enjoy talking football with you guys. A lot of fun today.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
Lisa and Payroll, hello?
Lisa? Hi, it's Jim at the home office. Any particular reason why your mailroom clerk makes $2.7 million a year?
Well, he's really good,
Is it time to update your payroll network? Call the certified professionals at Arrowhead Tax Accounting and Payroll Services in New Carlisle at 937-543-5770. Arrowhead Tax Accounting and Payroll Services. Our target is your satisfaction.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Mattress Firm's 4th of July sale has been extended for a limited time. Shop and save up to $500 on top-rated brands like Sealy and Sleepy's.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
If
you missed our conversation with Phil Steele, we'll have that again coming up for you here in the third hour. Plus, you can find it at wingam.com. Also, make sure you're taking advantage of the opportunity to subscribe and download the Justin Kinner Show podcast, your Apple iTunes and Google Play Store. That way, after each and every show, it's automatically sent right to your phone. But we welcome you back. Interesting stuff there from Phil Steele. As far as the Bearcats go, look, the bottom line is the one thing that they have to do to even put themselves in position to be considered for the college football playoff is taking care of their non-conference. I've said this a million times about the Bearcats. They cannot afford to approach their non-conference the way that everybody else does. If you want to be one of the big boys, you have to play the big boys. And sometimes when you do not get those opportunities within your conference, you got to literally go manually pick who they are in your non-conference. That is why I've been saying that if you have to overwhelm yourself in the non-conference, so be it. Because while you're playing the Indianas and the Notre Dames, and by the way, Indiana's not overwhelming. If you're trying to, if Cincinnati, I don't want to hear that, by the way. If Cincinnati is really as good as what they say they are, and they're trying to convince us that they are right up there with the 4 best teams who deserve to be in the college football playoff, then, you shouldn't just beat Indiana. You should beat Indiana. If Ohio State throttles Indiana and Cincinnati wins by a field goal, now we can have that conversation. Like, if you want to be one of the big boys, you got to look like one of the big boys. But the one thing about the American Conference schedule is the fact that you don't play anyone that's worthwhile in that conference in regards to having the same type of appeal that someone in the SEC or Ohio State. And people get so angry at that. Oh, enough of that. We know Indiana's good. Okay, but we know Ohio State's good, but they still got to go out and play much better teams than Cincinnati does. Well, that's because they play in a better conference. They play in a Power 5 conference. So the worst, sometimes the bottom 3 teams in the Big Ten that they play probably could make some noise in the American Conference. Let's stop acting like that's not actually the truth. So what Cincinnati has to do is they have to load up their non-conference. They have to play a really tough non-conference schedule so that while they're playing the tougher opponents in their non-con, and some of these Power 5s are playing a lighter schedule because they know the meat of their schedule is coming up in their conference, then it's just basically reversed. Ohio State, outside of Oregon, Ohio State is playing teams that are worse than what Cincinnati will play in their own conference. But then while Ohio State's playing the Penn States and the Wisconsins and the bigger teams of the world, then Cincinnati's playing Tulsa. Then they're playing those teams. So Cincinnati has to approach it in a mindset of, well, we got to play our Penn States. We have to play our Wisconsins. We have to play our Floridas. We have to play our tougher teams at the beginning when everyone else is playing light, because while we're playing light, everyone else is playing heavy. So that puts Cincinnati at a disadvantage at times, because while Ohio State gets to ease into their Big Ten schedule, while Alabama gets to ease into their SEC schedule, Cincinnati is almost expected to be closer to a finished product at the very beginning, as opposed to Ohio State and others who can kind of ease into it a bit. But those are the things you have to do to manipulate your resume. You can only play who's in front of you, right? At least from a conference standpoint. You have a little bit more. You have a little bit more flexibility in the non-con. Kev, to catch you up. Mm-hmm. I was talking about Cincinnati coming up this year, that it's very interesting when we talk about the stars aligning. They've aligned because they're at the point where they can have two Power 5 victories on the road against 2 potential top 25 teams in Indiana and Notre Dame. You beat both of those teams on the road, and you win your conference championship. Now you have some meat there. You have a resume. Right. I've never felt like, even last year and the year before, I didn't feel that their resume was worth a damn. And that's not because I don't think they're a good football team, but the college football playoff, at least in the 4-team format, it's never been about the 4 best teams. It's always been about the 4 best resumes. So I don't want to hear, well, Cincinnati, look what they did to Georgia. That's super. Georgia's resume technically still better than the resume of Cincinnati, but they have that going for them this year, to where they're going to have the resume to compete. It doesn't mean that they're a lock to get in, but they will have more of a right to complain and raise a stink this season if they miss it, undefeated conference champions with wins at Indiana, Notre Dame, than they would have last year when they were complaining, because I think we can all agree that that team was good enough to potentially no, I'm not. They're good. They were really, really good. But if we're going to say Georgia wasn't good enough to make the college football playoff, then you have to say Cincinnati wasn't. But we get so caught up in the undefeated thing, and I know you're high on undefeated. You got to reward the undefeateds, and I get that. But this year, what's good for Cincinnati is the fact that they do have enough of the resume builders in their non-con that they're going to be able to make some noise if they get in. Now, what they do when they get in if you get smacked by Ohio State, if you get smacked by Clemson or Alabama, it is what it is. Notre Dame gets slapped by them every year that they make the playoff, and yet I think your mic's off, by the way. There we go. There we go. But that's going to be the thing. I don't think the committee thinks that way. I don't think the committee does. Yeah, but if we put them in, they'll get thrashed. I still don't think the committee's made many mistakes throughout this stretch, as much as people want to say that they have. But it will be interesting to see what kind of respect the Bearcats get.
For me, for college football, I have a love-hate relationship with the product once it's complete. I love the Saturdays. I love the matchups. Like we talked about a ton, man. I watch a ton of college football. I don't have to just watch my team. I watch just the games in general. But I do find it hard for the non-traditional teams to make it to the dance. In years past, our older listeners can recognize this. Miami before the 80s was nothing. Like they were self-made, kind of like with the mindset of anybody, anywhere. We build our program from the mud. We build it from the bottom up. We're not Oklahoma or Alabama or an Ohio State or a Michigan who has decades and decades of tradition back before the 80s and everything like that. They were self-made and they made themselves into a national power and won national championships back in the 80s and, into the 90s and the first decade of the 2000s, everything like that. The same thing could be said about Florida State. Florida State, was a women's school and they were nothing until, they went on this epic run from the late 80s until, the early 2000s under Bobby Bowden and everything like that. I don't think that can happen in today's football. I think there's too much money and there's too much in place already to say, like, you're not invited to the party. Like, I think it's a lot of Heisman, pardon the pun, but stiff-arming people at the door saying, well, you really got to prove yourself. You really got to prove yourself. Like, I don't necessarily believe that UC can prove themselves enough to, the powers that be to say that they're going to be invited to the college football playoff. I think that in a situation where you were talking about with them having to play Indiana and a Notre Dame, those are great opportunities for UC, which they have to win if they really want to be considered for the 14 playoff. But like you said before, by the time their season ends, by the time, they're playing in their conference championship game, if things go their way, they'll be undefeated. And then they'll be playing Tulsa, who has, 2 or 3 losses at that point, let's say, and they only win that game by 10 points. The committee and the talking heads will find a way to discredit what they did the entire season. But
I don't have a problem with that, because if Ohio State would have played a Tulsa in the championship game and only beat them by 10, wouldn't we be saying, like, when Ohio State barely beat Northwestern a few years ago, media beat them up for it. Well, no, there's a few years ago, Northwestern had 4 losses in the Big Ten title. Oh, but you're right. They did barely beat them. But no, you're right. But years ago, that was the case. And,
I'm just saying, like, I think it may be right now before this college football potential expansion. I think there is a glass ceiling for a lot of these other teams. And I'm not sure that they can break through, even if they run the table. And because I think it's all talk now. It's talk now in July before the games kick off. Because let's keep it real. People are on vacation. People aren't like dialed in. Like, they're getting their Phil Steele magazines as they're, taking their vacations or whatever. They're getting their read on and everything like that. But once the season kicks off, I think that those biases will automatically turn on. Somehow, some way, an SEC fan is going to try to convince you that, oh man, this victory over Vanderbilt is better than UC's victory over UCF. Like, somebody's going to try to say that. Well, they're in the SEC. Look, man, I'm gonna beat this horse until it's said and done, man. These other teams in the SEC, yes, I believe the SEC is the best conference in college football. But I don't think it's the best college football how it's perceived by the masses. I don't think it's by a landslide, because you're eating off of Alabama's table, You have a couple fly-by nights, like you have a LSU. We come here every, 5-6 years. We get things working the right way. We win a lot of games. We win a national championship, and then we go away for like half a decade. Same thing can be said about Auburn and everything like that. So a lot of these schools are eating off Alabama's plate, just like a lot of the Big Ten schools are eating off Ohio State's plate, and just like the ACC teams are eating off of Clemson's plate. I just think that it's a lot of good football played in other conferences, but since their name says Tulsa, since their name says UC, people will refuse to give them the credit that they deserve, and they will big up other teams from conferences. Like, I can't tell you how many times people have told me, oh man, Tennessee's good. Really? Tennessee's good? No, you're saying Tennessee is good because they have that SEC patch on their shoulder. If they were playing in a different conference, you would be saying they're terrible. Like, I get annoyed when people try to big up teams that are mediocre just because they play in that power conference. Like, that's not how things should be. It should be on the field. And it's no fault to UC. It's no fault to any of the other teams from the G5 because that's the hand that they're dealt. And nobody's going to cry for them. I'm not crying for those schools because, they have an opportunity. Like, UC has an opportunity. If they run the table and Indiana, holds up their end of the bargain, and by all intents and purposes, we believe that Notre Dame is going to hold up their end of the bargain, UC will be in the conversation. And I think for UC being in the conversation continually, at some point, they will have the opportunity to jump ship to a different conference, or people would actually start perceiving, the American better than they actually view it.
I don't think the American is better than people view it. But anyways, that's just me. Agree with everything you say to a certain extent, but at the same time, right now, it's just the reality of it, of the perception of when we're not trying to convince you who the better teams are. We're trying to tell you who the better resumes are. Like, that's, we do that basically. In all honesty, a lot of radio shows do this. Sports TV shows, they do the blind resume game and all that stuff. And we do that with Hall of Fame careers and all this. That's what the playoff is. It's not really about settling it on the field. It never has been. College athletics, sometimes it can't work that way because there's just 300 plus teams or whatnot. There's so many teams.
Yeah, I mean, there's 130 football teams.
There's no such thing as a fair way to determine.
You are 100% correct.
So they have it comes down to this resume type deal, and that's really what it comes down to. Ron coming in saying, you're a homer. When UCF was in a conversation, your view was a lot different. How is my view a lot different? My view back then was kind of the same about Cincinnati right now. I think Cincinnati, I'm talking, Ron, about Cincinnati having an opportunity to separate itself from UCF because UCF was undefeated and they looked good in those bowl games against those SEC teams. But their resume, it doesn't matter how good they are on paper. Their resume did not trump any of the resumes that made the playoff that year, even undefeated. And to Kev's point, that could happen this year because the resume for Cincinnati, it may not be good enough to get them in, even undefeated, even with wins over Notre Dame and Indiana, because you know what they can say? Well, you beat Notre Dame, that's a good job. You beat Indiana, that's a good job. But, Ohio State's playing in Indiana every week.
Right.
SEC, they're playing, even if Tennessee's bad, Tennessee's making a lot of noise in the American Conference. So, they're playing Tulsa they're playing a Tennessee every week, to where you're playing, your best opponent is a last place opponent in that conference. Right or wrong, that's the perception that kind of carries them. Of course, Ron goes, you should practice what you preach. You want Wright State always ranked. Horizon League is not eye candy. First of all, Ron, I mean, if you're going to try and come in with hot takes, at least make sure they're actual good takes. That's a bad take. In fact, Ron, I will give you $1 billion. I'll give you $1 billion if you could find at any point in the history of my 31 years of life where I said Wright State should be ranked in anything. So please, Ron, I beg of you.
You'll find me on Twitter talking about how Wright State baseball should have been.
Well, baseball. I'm assuming he's talking basketball because it is what it is. But basketball, billion. We're talking billions, Ron. And I work in radio, so I have tons of billions of dollars. Okay, I just have stacks on stacks on stacks, fat stacks. Just saying.
You got that by working here?
Oh, I mean, I had to go into my boss's office today and say, "Can you please stop with the raises?" I mean, I have so much. I'm like Walter White. I have an entire, little shed just stacked with dollars. I'm telling you, actually, that's about right. That sounds about right. Brian says, don't forget what Bama did to the Buckeyes. Do you really want UC in the play? We know, Brian. We know what Bama did to the Buckeyes, Brian. Bama Brian coming in hot. I know it's almost football season because we got an appearance by Bama Brian over here. Gotta love it. Yes, Brian, I'm very well aware of what happened to the Buckeyes against Alabama. It was a COVID season. And, they didn't have the running back. That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard Buckeye fans say. It would have been a much different game if they would have had their running back. No, it wouldn't have. It might have been maybe a touchdown closer. It wouldn't have been. The thing that cost Ohio State all year is what got them decimated in the championship game. That defense just was no good. Brian Staley, Kev, says Bama, Clemson, and the Buckeyes return to the playoffs despite a new starting quarterback. The Bearcats' best chances this year. Georgia and Notre Dame potentially look as if they will be playoff teams the following year as long as they don't lose key players to transferring. Actually, Brian, they're set up to win this year.
Yeah.
Like they probably, if it wasn't Alabama, Georgia would probably be favored to win that division, that conference, just because they're so experienced on both sides of the ball, and they have JT Daniels. They're probably a better team right now, but we'll see. I don't think anyone really expected the season Mac Jones had last year, so I'm not going to play that game with Bama again. There's only 3 programs in all of college football that deserve the benefit of the doubt when it comes to losing a superstar quarterback and just bringing in a new quarterback that we assume is good. Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson. Those are the only 3 programs I can trust in regards to losing an NFL quarterback and replacing him with someone we've never seen before, and them just picking up where they left off. Clemson did it went from Deshaun Watson, of course. Kelly Bryant took over, and then they went to Trevor Lawrence, won a national championship. And then we've seen the whole soap opera at Alabama. When you look at the Tua Tagovailoa thing right into Mac Jones, I mean, then you also had Jalen Hurts in the mix there as well. Ohio State, Braxton Miller to JT Barrett to Cardale Jones to Dwayne Haskins to Justin Fields. Well, there's only 1 national championship combined between all of them, but lots of playoff appearances. I'm just saying facts, Kev. Stacks on stacks on stacks because of them facts.
We're a Buckeye affiliate. You know that, right?
I'm wearing the Buckeye. Oh, no, that's Nike. This is, look at my office. I'm all about the Buckeyes. I'm just
saying.
Do I got to rewrite the facts? Do I got to hold up Phil Steele? He said that they only won a national title in 2014. Do I need to go back and fill in they won it in 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20? Might as well just pencil them in for this year.
I'm just saying.
They're probably, you know what they're probably doing to me right now?
Killing you on the boards.
They're probably killing me on the boards. We'll be back. Hour 3 coming up next. Oh, shout out to the Wolf. The Wolf says, OSU, you better focus on defense. Georgia, I say watch out. Let's see. We will. We'll see. Hour 3 next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Need legal help? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Have you heard about our new help center? It's located at the Montgomery County Courthouse, providing legal information and forms. And we also share programs and resources that may be available to you. Let us help you navigate the court system. Visit us online at courthouse2u.com for more info.
Welcome to Parent Teacher Night. Oh, yes, Miss Garner.
If you have one of those airline credit cards, you're probably not earning double miles on every purchase.
You're right. My card only gets extra miles on some types of purchases.
With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double miles everywhere.
Wait, but where can we use them?
You can use Capital One Venture miles on any travel purchase.
Venture gets an A+.
Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
What makes the perfect workout? Being able to ride, lift, and stretch in one place with motivating instructors.
Y'all look so good out there, Peloton.
Classes that always work around your busy summer schedule.
Push, Peloton. You've got 20 minutes of opportunity on this ride.
Instructor-curated playlists for every mood.
Let's turn it up. Come on.
Now what if you had it all? Right at home. The Peloton Bike. Nothing like working out from home. Visit onepeloton.com to learn more.
Ohio has a lot of smart, hardworking roofing contractors. And to unlock your full potential, use the Beacon Pro Plus app. Beacon Pro Plus helps with material ordering, order history, and automated rebate tracking. Use it 24/7 wherever you are, saving valuable time and building your business. And by using it, you could win keys to unlock an all-new Ford F-150. You work hard. Now work smarter. Learn more at becn.com/Ohio. That's becn.com/Ohio.
Rittal North America LLC in Urbana will be hosting on-site walk-in interviews every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in July from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Rittal offers great pay, benefits, and has immediate openings seeking experienced welders, machine operators, paint unloaders, and paint loaders. Attend one of the on-site walk-in interviews at Rittal or apply today by sending your resume to Katie McKee at mckee.k@rittal.us. That's mckee.k@rittal.us. Rittal is proud to be an affirmative action and equal opportunity employer.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Mattress Firm's 4th of July sale has been extended for a limited time. Shop and save up to $500 on top-rated brands like Steele and Sleepy's.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, we are back. Justin Kenner with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio, the show brought to you by Orion Sports Medicine. The TBT on WING is officially back. Dayton Flyers basketball fans, now is your chance to watch some of your favorite former Flyers reunite on the hardwood with a chance to advance to championship week at UD Arena July 31st through August 3rd. You'll get to see players like Ryan Mikesell, Kendall Pollard, Trey Landers, and the rest of the Red Scare as they tip off their TBT run on Saturday, July 24th at 3 p.m. All games can be watched on the ESPN family of networks. Plus, you can catch all of the Red Scare games right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Myself and former Dayton Flyer Norm Greavy. We will be live in Columbus at the Covelli Center for both the Red Scare games and all of Carmen's Crew games. So we are hoping that leads to a Carmen's Crew versus Red Scare showdown in the quarterfinals at UD Arena. How exciting will that be? So we're pretty pumped about that. So again, every Red Scare game you can catch right here on 1410 Wing AM, as well as every Carmen's Crew game. And a lot of big names of that. Costa Kufis was just announced late last week as the latest addition to the Ohio State Buckeyes alumni team, Carmen's crew. You'll see Costa Kufis along with Caleb Weston. Those are the two new big additions that they made to that roster to go along with a lot of the familiar faces from the Carmen's crew roster, like Aaron Kraft, John Diebler, William Buford, and so on. So pretty excited about that. Big time rosters for both teams. And how cool will that be? Dayton Flyers fans to again, not just see this team reunite again, but to see them reunite and actually play at UD Arena. Like, that's what makes this fun. I know at Wichita State, they have a team in there. They're going to be playing on their home floor, so it's pretty exciting. And the atmosphere at Wichita State when their alumni team played was pretty badass, and I expect the same type of thing at UD Arena when the Red Scare hopefully advances to championship week, July 31st through August 3rd. Brewers at Reds. The Reds just took 3 of 4 from Milwaukee to close out the first half of the regular season. And, the Cincinnati Reds, one of the hottest teams in baseball heading into the AllStar break. They are second in the NL Central, 4 games back of the NL Central, and they have a record of 48-42. And the most important thing is after taking 3 of 4 from the Brewers, they have 3 more with the Brewers coming right out of the AllStar break. Well, thanks to our friends at Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, we have teamed up, and we want to make sure that immediately coming out of the AllStar break this Friday night, we're giving away tickets to Reds Brewers GABP Game 1 of the second half of the season, as the Reds are in heavy pursuit of not just the Brewers of the NL Central crown. They're also in the mix in the wild card. We would prefer the NL Central, but regardless, all the Reds have to keep doing is winning. If they keep winning, everything takes care of itself. But I expect a jam-packed GABP this coming up weekend to kick things off for the second half of the season. Can the Reds pick up where they left off after taking 3 of 4 from the Brewers? In fact, look at the fact that the Brewers series before this last one, they swept the Brewers. So they swept the Brewers the last series they played. They took 3 of 4 this past weekend, and they got 3 more with the Brewers this coming up weekend. It's a big one at GABP. We're giving away tickets. All you have to do is head to wingam.com, click on the contest up at the top. It's where it says win, and you'll be able to register daily to win a family 4-pack of Reds tickets to GABP this Friday night. We also are giving away a family 4-pack of tickets for Sunday's game as the Reds wrap up that series with the Brewers at GABP. So this Friday night and this Sunday, we have tickets to both family 4-pack of Reds tickets. You can register daily at wingam.com. Take advantage of the bonus entries by following. Again, you have to follow it through the contest page. They'll instruct you and they'll give you the prompts on how to follow my Twitter account, the station Twitter account, Instagram, all that fun stuff. So follow the prompts. It's free. It only costs you about a couple minutes of your time. No doll hairs, though. Win a family 4-pack of Reds tickets. GABP is going to be absolutely amazing this weekend. Hopefully the Reds don't disappoint. I talked about that earlier. The last time the Reds were this good at the All-Star break was back in 2014. And then they got swept by the Brewers. They got swept by the Yankees coming out of the break, and then they got swept by the Brewers. And then they dropped 3 of 4 to Atlanta. And it got really ugly really quickly, and the Reds never really were able to rebound. And, they finished about 8 games under 500 that year, and most notably, didn't make the playoffs, no wild card, no division title, of course. And then that's really when the rebuild started. And I think that that's the one thing to keep in mind about where the Reds are as we currently sit here today, is that really the future of the Cincinnati Reds, not just the near future right now, but big picture, it all really depends on this series coming out of the All-Star break. If you come out and drop 2 or 3, or heaven forbid get swept, all of a sudden the front office is starting to take a look at some deals and offers. They're starting to pick up the phone to hear what teams are offering them. But if they come out and take 2 or 3, or maybe sweep the Brewers, and then they take that momentum and take 2 or 3 from the Mets, now those phone conversations, they change a little bit. Now all of a sudden, when the Reds pick up that phone, it's calling teams trying to figure out how they can get those assets, how they can improve this roster, how they can take these deficiencies and improve them. Obviously, that bullpen's going to be a big topic of conversation. Trevor Story in Colorado, the Reds are rumored to be in the mix to acquire him at shortstop. Maybe that's an off-season acquisition that they make. But the one thing I want to see out of the Reds is urgency. Because right now, when you look at where they're at right now, they got to take advantage of a lot of things that are flowing in their favor. For one, the NL Central, it's as weak as it's been in over a decade. This Cubs team is about to blow it up and start over. The Pirates don't look like they are anywhere close to being a Major League Ball club. The Cardinals are kind of right there in the middle, and the Reds have proven to be more consistent despite their deficiencies. And then you look at the Brewers, who are a very good baseball team, and the Reds seem to get the better of them on a consistent basis. This isn't just one series. The Reds have swept the Brewers. They have taken 3 of 4 from the Brewers on the road. I mean, the Reds have proven that this division, it should be theirs. How do you sweep everyone in the division in the first half of the season and have, a 10-game, they are above 10 games as far as in the win category against the division in the first half, and you don't win the division at the end of the year? Like, this division is theirs for the taking. I get mad when teams try to be a little, they get too conservative when it comes to making roster moves. I give the Castellinis credit. Over this last couple of seasons, they have not been conservative with roster moves. They've gone after guys like Sonny Gray and Trevor Bauer. They've gone after the whole reason that Nick Castellanos is representing the Reds the way he is because, well, the front office was non-conservative, went after him, got him. They, of course, went out and they tried to get some bigger stars to put around him. The Reds have done their job. My big question about the ownership that everyone likes to rip them is when they lose, it's their fault, but when they win, it's not. It's not because of them. I don't get that. You Reds fans are funny because when the Bengals lose, Bengals front office, they're geniuses because they drafted Joe Burrow and they could do no wrong. When they lose, it's not their fault. When they win, it's because of them. You guys are weird. Cincinnati sports fans are strange. I just don't understand it. I would love to understand it someday. But I'm curious about what the Reds' approach is going to be. They have not been that conservative over the last 2 or 3 seasons. Sure, they didn't make any big addition this past offseason. But to be fair, we didn't know what this team was going to be this year, and neither did they. So why would they go and make a humongous move for a roster that they didn't really know what they had? Because we didn't know what they had. They thought last year after adding Nick Castellanos and after adding Moustakas and Akiyama and all these guys, they thought that they had one of the best hitting teams in baseball. They were one of the worst hitting teams in baseball last year. As a team, collectively, they hit 220. That was bad. As a team, they hit 220. So they didn't know what they had this year. They didn't want to go. I mean, people keep ripping them about the shortstop. They weren't going to go and pull the trigger on a shortstop whenever they have a really good shortstop in the farm system that's a year or 2 away. They figured, well, we don't really know what we have, so we don't want to go spend big dollars if we're close to blowing this up and having to bring up a lot of our young guys. But at the same time, they didn't know that they were going to have an opportunity here to win this division. Now they do. I haven't ripped the front office as much as I would like to because I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, they're going to make a move that suits this team.
As much as you would like to. You really want to?
I want to because I understand where the frustration from a lot of people is coming. But at the same time, it's like, well, what are the Reds fans expecting? Reds fans weren't super jacked coming in. Remember, I was like, I don't feel like the excitement's there for the Reds heading into this season.
Yeah.
I don't think that's just a me thing. I think that's across the board. I think the front office felt it too. I think the front office was questioning what they had. I think the front office didn't know what they were going to be. So why would you invest heavy dollars into some free agents when you don't even know the direction that your team is going in? I think that this year was all about a feeling out process. Now the Reds know what they have, and now I will judge them from here on out on what they do. So I had no problem with them not going to get a shortstop when you had Jose Garcia, who is one of the top prospects, not just in the Reds organization, but in all of Major League Baseball. So if Jose Garcia is supposed to be the next big thing at shortstop, but he's not ready this year, he's just about a year out, why would you go spend a crap ton of money on a shortstop if you know that he's about to be ready here in a year? You don't want to go and risk the development of that kid because you're going to have player control over him over a long time. And the shortstop position, if you can get a young rookie at shortstop, that's an expensive position. Ask Kev. There's a reason Cleveland doesn't have him anymore. And you're due.
Million.
So you know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of where we're at when it comes to that. So it's just one of those things where I'm not defending the front office, but at the same time, I don't think they screwed up as bad as what people are thinking they have. Plus the bullpen. I don't think the Reds thought they had the best bullpen in baseball, but I do believe that when you have the best pitching coach in baseball, you figure you can give them some average pieces and do a lot with it, right? Well, that has not necessarily been the case, but at the end of the day, this is a team that has really kind of come together. This bullpen, Kev, I think in the month of June, they had like the second best ERA as a bullpen. Isn't that crazy?
Very.
That is very strange.
But if you think about the way they've been playing baseball and winning games, they can't just be winning all these games strictly off of offense. So you got to think, man, at some point, the defense was going to have to kick in, meaning the pitchers.
Yeah. So Nick Kirby on Twitter, the Reds are 23-14 in their last 37 games. All right. The Reds are 31-14 versus the National League Central since September 13th of last season. And the Reds just clinched their first winning record at the AllStar Break since 2014. This is just their 9th winning first half in the last 25 years. And we're still sitting here focusing more on the bad than the good. That's the problem I have when it comes to all of this. How about this tweet? Jesse Rogers says, according to the Elias Sports Bureau, the Cubs dropped from first place to 9 games back in 12 days, is tied for the largest fall for a first place team in a 12-day span since 1969. Man, nice. Holy moly. I'm on a roll. I'm just excited. I'm excited about Reds baseball for the first time in a long, long time. And you should be as well. You want tickets to the Reds Brewers series this weekend? Head to wingam.com and register to win a family 4-pack of Reds tickets. We're going to be drawing the winner on Thursday. And the good news is we just send them right to you. It's that simple. We email them to you through the MLB Ballpark app. So you don't have to come in to pick them up. You don't have to leave work early. You don't have to stop here on the way home from work. We just send them right to the app on your phone. You don't have to stop in. It's very convenient, really cool. We're excited about that. Register for free at wingam.com. Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken brings you the family 4-pack of Reds ticket giveaway. Register daily to increase your chances of winning. Kev, are you participating? Are you registering to win right now?
I'm not.
Cleveland's not in town. You know that, right?
I'm not eligible. Shouts out to my Cleveland baseball team, winners of 3 straight. A couple weeks ago, they were 1 game behind the White Sox. Then a week happens, then they're 9 games, and now, boom, they're right back to 7 games back. So All-Star break. Let's get rested. Let's get the pitchers back healthy and make a run for it in the second half.
All right, we're going to do a little fill in the blank on the other side. We'll be right back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy with showers and thunderstorms, a high near 83. Tonight will be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a low around 70. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a high near 82. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Welcome to another episode of Ask Tomorrow. I'm your host, Tomorrow. Better sleep makes for a better me, and Casper's Cooling Collection has everything hot sleepers need to keep cool all night long, like the Wave Hybrid Snow Mattress for over 12 hours of cooler sleep. Okay, next caller.
Hi, Tomorrow. I need to break up with my boyfriend. Any suggestions?
Get him a breathable mattress protector. It helps hot sleepers stay cool.
I think I'll just go with flowers.
Yeah, none of my exes appreciated the mattress protector either. Casper, love your tomorrow.
If you're attacked by a bear, a dog will throw himself into the mouth of a bear to save you. Dogs are dogs. They pour out their love onto you. Before long, you can't live without them. I have a chocolate cocker spaniel named Lady and a blackmouth cur. He's about 120 pounds, and his name is Arlo. My little cocker, her coat's as soft as a stuffed animal. They're both real soft coats, and my dogs don't have any health problems because they're eating what they need to eat.
DINOVITE.com.
Dynavite is like pouring a multivitamin right onto their food.
The omega-3 fatty acids, flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa, the digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
We'll be scooping our Dynavite onto the food, then squirting the liquor chops and the fish oil. They start salivating.
Dynavite is nutrition.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
It's a lot of responsibility owning a dog. I get my Dynavite at DINOVITE.com.
Step up your career with an MBA from Ohio Dominican University. At Ohio Dominican, you can earn your MBA 100% online in just 16 months. With 7 high-demand concentrations, including data analytics, risk management, and now healthcare administration, an MBA from Ohio Dominican fits your professional goals. It's also one of the most affordable programs in the region. Classes start soon. Get started at ohiodominican.edu/MBA.
When you're ready to buy something, the first thing you do is go online.
But buying a home is different. You've got loan applications, pre-approvals, competing offers, the list goes on. That's where a Realtor comes in. Realtors have expertise and local knowledge to give you a competitive edge that a search bar just can't. And in today's market, an edge is what you need. So when you're ready to buy a home, the first thing to do is make sure you have an agent who's a Realtor. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
Napa know-how.
Why save $20 on a Napa automotive battery? Because nobody likes bad starts. You know, like forgetting your job interviewer's name or saying I love you on a first date. So get a good start with a Napa automotive battery at your local Napa Auto Parts store or Auto Care Center. Plus, get $20 back. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating locations, exclusions apply. May not be combined with other offers. Offer ends 7/31/21.
Tired of deciding what to cook tonight? Frickers is ready when you are with everyone's favorite ribs and frickin' chicken chunks. Tender baby back ribs and frickin' chicken chunks, only $12.99 dine-in only. Take the day off as kids 10 and under eat free every day. And you can relax and let Frickers take care of everything. Baby back ribs, frickin' chicken chunks, and kids eat free at the one place that makes lunch, dinner, or late night easy. The home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Baby back. Baby back.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
Over the last year and a half, we all learned some hard lessons. One of the most important is that you can't put off the inevitable. Hi, this is Mark Davis at Dayton Memorial Park Cemetery and Mausoleums. No matter how hard it is to think about, we all need a final resting place. When pre-planning with your funeral home, please remember that cemetery arrangements must also be made. Call us today at 937-890-1831 or visit our website at DaytonMemorialPark.com. And remember, Dayton Memorial Park is a beautiful place to celebrate life.
What if I told you you could save 50% off your monthly cell phone bill without sacrificing your service? This is Jill Schlesinger, CBS News business analyst, and I'm talking about H2O Wireless. If you're with AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, you're just paying too much. Listen to this. You can get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data for just $36 a month. That means the average person is probably saving $400 a year. You might use that to fund your emergency reserve fund or pay down some credit card bills or put some money in your retirement plan. And switching is so easy. You can keep your phone, keep your number. You just have to swap out your SIM card. You get the same great service you currently have, but at half the price. Right now, you can save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword get H2O. That's pound 250 and say keyword get H2O to start saving today.
Upgrade your business during Dell Technologies Black Friday and July event. Get savings up to 50% off and take your office with you with Windows 10 Pro. Call 877-ASK-DELL for a Dell Technologies advisor.
The Reds are on the radio. Every hit, every strikeout, every Reds victory. You can catch all of the action all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Make sure you register for free Reds tickets at wingam.com. Thanks to our sponsors, Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. You can register daily to win a Reds family 4-pack of tickets. In fact, the Reds are officially at the AllStar Break, 46-42 their record, and 48-42 their record, 6 games above 500. And the Reds will start things off in the second half this Friday against Milwaukee. For the last 2 series against the Brewers, they swept the Brewers 2 series ago. They just took 3 of 4 from the Brewers on the road, and now they open up with the Brewers the second half of the season, and we are giving away a Reds family 4-pack of tickets to Friday night's game at GABP as well as Sunday, thanks to Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. So make sure you go and check that out at wingam.com, where you can register daily. It doesn't cost you anything other than a few moments of your time, so make sure you go and check that out. Home Run Derby tonight, the All-Star game tomorrow night, and we all know how excited Reds fans are about having 2 two starters in the National League lineup. Again, you have Jesse Winker and Nick Castellanos. Nick Castellanos right now is doing everything he can to keep himself and put himself at the front of the line when it comes to the National League MVP conversation. But right now, him and Jesse Winker, both two Cincinnati Reds who are in the outfield right now. Here are your National League starters. Freddie Freeman at first base. This is not your lineup for tomorrow. This is just your overall National League roster. But Freddie Freeman will start at first base for the Braves. Adam Frazier from the Pirates will get the start at second, and Fernando Tatis Jr. from the Padres will get the start at short, with Nolan Arenado of the Cardinals at third base. Buster Posey, the catcher for the Giants, will be the starting catcher for the National League. And then here is your outfield for the National League. Nick Castellanos and Jesse Winker with the Reds. And unfortunately, a scary season-ending injury for Ronald Acuna Jr., who should be the third starting outfielder for the National League from the Atlanta Braves, is out after that freak injury that he had on Saturday night. And it's very unfortunate because his season is done. The Braves are in the thick of things in the playoff push as well. The Braves have kind of taken a step back from a year ago. They've definitely underachieved to this point, but Ronald Acuna was not underachieving at all. He was having a fantastic season, and it's unfortunate that the All-Star, his season has come to a stop. But here is the National League reserves. JT Realmuto as well as Yadier Molina, as far as the catchers are concerned. Max Muncy and Ozzie Albies from the Braves at first and second base. You go Chris Bryant, who's going to be involved probably in a lot of trade discussions as the July 30th trade deadline coming up around the corner. Mookie Betts, Brian Reynolds, Kyle Schwarber, who has had a monster of a first half of the season. You look at Juan Soto, who's going to be in the home run derby tonight. Chris Taylor as well from the Dodgers. That's a lot of very good names, of course, that we did see Jesse Winker and Nick Castellanos get the better of getting to this point. But as far as your pitchers are concerned for the National League, Corbin Burns, Yu Darvish, Jacob deGrom. You just go down this list. Zach Wheeler, Brandon Woodruff, who the Reds got a big win against over the weekend. Freddie Peralta, Walker Buehler, Max Scherzer, who will be the starting pitcher for the National League in tomorrow night's ALNL All-Star game. The National League relievers, Josh Hader, who the Reds just gave him his first two losses of the season this past weekend when the Reds took 3 of 4 from the Brewers. Craig Kimbrell from the Cubs, Mark Melancon from the Padres, and Alex Reyes from the Cardinals. So there you go. There is your lineup, or there's your starters, I should say, minus the lineup, of course, for the National League and your Cincinnati Reds. So pretty cool stuff there as the Reds really just getting excited about having the chance to see those two in action tomorrow night. I'm Justin Kinner, hanging out with you here on a Monday, coming out of the weekend. We touched on a lot today. Of course, we touched on the NBA Finals. The Milwaukee Bucks finally get their first Finals win to make it a series. They avoid going down 0-3. They avoid potentially being swept in the Finals, of course, and they get a convincing win at their first home game of the series. You know what they say? They always say a series doesn't start until a team on the road gets a victory. That's still what we're waiting to see in this finals. I still have the Bucks winning this one coming up. And then I do believe that their momentum that they've been able to establish with wins at home, I think they're going to be able to take Game 5 to take a 3-2 series lead back to Milwaukee coming up here next week or later in the week. I'm pretty excited to see how all of that unfolds. The home run derby tonight, you have Shohei Ohtani, who right now is the odds-on favorite to win the home run derby. In fact, what I read earlier today was that there are more votes being placed on Shohei Ohtani than the rest of the field combined. And that, Shohei Ohtani is the new shiny toy that everyone is absolutely in love with, and rightfully so. The dude is also the starting pitcher for the American League in the All-Star game tomorrow night, and he will also be the leadoff hitter for the American League tomorrow. So he's going to be the leadoff hitter for the American League, the starting pitcher for the American League. And he's going to be in the home run derby tonight. He is the odds-on favorite. I don't know about you, but I'm not picking Ohtani tonight. Not because it's the typical Kinner thing to always pick against the field, but I'm just saying I'm going with the field tonight. I look at a guy like Pete Alonso, who won the home run derby back in 2019, his rookie season. I look at him as having a very good opportunity here to win this home run derby. I think that he is in a very good situation here heading into this. I think the one thing is that no one's looking at him, all right? I think he's going to run into Ohtani in the second round, which the winner of that second round will go on to the finals, where I think Trevor Story will represent that side of the bracket. I think you're going to have Alonso against Trevor Story in the finals tonight. We all know how fun it is to watch the hometown guy represent the hometown in the home run derby championship game, right? Or the round. We saw that with Todd Frazier years ago when the Cincinnati Reds hosted the All-Star game, and we know how electric the crowd was that year. We know how wild it was at Great American Ballpark. I think you could see something very similar tonight in Colorado with Trevor Story in the mix there. I'm pretty excited about that. But this Shohei Ohtani thing, when it comes to the home run derby, the dude doesn't even take batting practice before games. When I read that last week, my jaw hit the floor. I mean, the dude doesn't even, he's not comfortable taking those practice swings, right? Like at least, before games. So with that being said, it's just one of those things where the dude, it's not like his thing to go up against those type of pitches. For me, I'm just saying I don't think he's going to struggle, but I don't think he wins tonight. And I think the fact that so much money is being put on him, if I'm a betting guy, wink, wink, entertainment purposes only, I don't bet on Shohei Ohtani to win this tonight. I'm not picking him to win it all. In fact, I'm going against him. I think you win some money if you pick against him. And I would go with Pete Alonso, to be quite honest with you. We are live on Facebook. And yes, Jeff, thank you for pointing that out. Buster Posey is out for the All-Star game, which, of course, I believe, Jeff, am I mistaken, isn't Yadier Molina going to start then? If I'm not mistaken, because I know some people were upset, of course, that the Reds didn't get any consideration for Tyler Stevenson or Tucker Barnhart. I don't think Tucker Barnhart or Tyler Stevenson should be an all-star by themselves, but I do believe that those two as a tandem, they've been all-star worthy together. But when you pick each of them individually, Tyler Stevenson's been had one heck of a rookie season. But at the same time, I'm not going to put him in all-star consideration just because of that. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But I have no problem. Some people were upset about having Yadier Molina there. I have no problem with Yadier Molina being there. It's Yadier Molina. Some of it's a little bit of a legacy thing, but at the same time, it is Yadier Molina. I have no problem with that. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN
I'm here.
Radio. There you are. There you are. We're going to hit some music in our final couple minutes here before we get to our Phil Steele conversation, and we'll do a little fill in the blank here as we currently sit here. At least I got to make sure. I got to see where this is at. There we go. So a little fill in the blank. We're going to start things off with the NFL, Kev. Our fill in the blank. Justin Fields, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, or Joe Burrow. Blank will make the playoffs before the other three, and I have as a starter in parentheses because Justin Fields may not be a starter. Jordan Love may not be the starter this year. Joe Burrow may only start 6 games before that offensive line gets him knocked out. But which of these quarterbacks, Jordan Love, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, or Joe Burrow, will make the playoffs before the other three?
Fields has a better team around him.
As a starter.
I mean, even if I'm even going to go to the point of what if they go out there with Dalton for the first 3 games, they make the switch to Fields and everything like that. They play a more conservative style of offense or whatever and really rely on that defense. And he's managing the game and using his ability to move the pocket and everything like that. And he helps that team to get to the playoffs. Plus, you got to think, Aaron Rodgers, he's still in limbo. We don't know. So if Aaron Rodgers isn't there and they're throwing Jordan Love out there, there's another unknown factor. So I think he has the best chance of getting his team to the playoffs.
Yeah, again, if you're just tuning in, a little fill in the blank here. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. This show brought to you by Orion Sports Medicine. But which of these 4 quarterbacks will make the playoffs before the other 3 as a starter, of course? Fill in the blank. Justin Fields, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, or Joe Burrow. Jordan Love plays on the best team of all those 4 right now. But Jordan Love, I do not believe is going to be the starter this year. I still think Aaron Rodgers is coming back. I think he's kind of planted those seeds as him coming back. I think in the staring contest, the player lost for once. It's not often where you see the player with power, the power not be stronger than the power of the team. The Packers won this, at least as of now. I mean, we start to see him step foot out on the practice field, but it looks as if the Packers have won this, and we'll see what ends up happening. But Justin Fields, you're right. I like Trevor Lawrence. I like Joe Burrow. I don't trust Joe Burrow's situation in Cincinnati. I don't think he stays healthy all season, and I definitely don't see them making the playoffs. I've seen way too many Bengals fans try to convince me that the Bengals can win about 9 or 10 games this year. Look, weed's not legal in Ohio, but wherever you're getting it from, good for you. You're getting the good stuff. That's all I got to say. Justin Fields is going to be it. I think he's the only guy that is really going to be the starter on a playoff caliber team. Jordan Love will not be the starter this year. Trevor Lawrence will be the starter. That's just a rebuilding team. They're not going anywhere. And Joe Burrow, I don't see being the starting quarterback due to health reasons outside of the 6th week. So, Justin Fields, I'm with you. I think he will be the first quarterback of the other 3 of those 4 to make the playoffs. They could get a playoff win, too. That defense is pretty damn good. And Justin Fields, we know what kind of throws he can make based on his time at Ohio State. All right, on to the next one. A little Ohio State here. The Big Ten team that the Ohio State Buckeyes should be worried about the most this upcoming season is blank. Who are you filling in the blank with? We had Phil Steele on in the show earlier. He said Wisconsin is that team. Do you agree?
No, I'm not going to agree with that. If there's going to be any team out there that I will be worried about, it has to be Penn State, because Penn State is the only team out there that is recruited remotely to the same level as Ohio State. And James Franklin, I like you, but time to win the game, right? It's about that time to win the game. You know, all that talk about everything that goes on with Gus Malzahn and Auburn and everything like that, him being a good coach, him not being a good coach and everything like that, did beat Nick Saban a couple of times. Nick Saban for a chance to go to the SEC championship and ultimately go and play for the national championship. Also beat Nick Saban on the road. So if you're going to be the rival coach to Brian Day, you got to win eventually. You got to win, your fair share. You know what I mean? You got to win like at least 1 out of every 3 years. So, hey, it's on you, Franklin.
I don't ever agree with David Shaw, but Shaw actually has a very good answer here. The Big Ten team that Ohio State should worry, the Big Ten team that Ohio State should be worried about the most this upcoming season, David Shaw says themselves. And I actually agree with that a lot. I think Ohio State's biggest opponent last year was themselves on more occasion than not. But Shaw, I actually like your answer, but I'm not going to use that. I honestly, Indiana, because really, it's not about Ohio State's offense. It's about their defense. And Michael Penix Jr., they couldn't stop him last year. And I'm not sure how much better this defense is this year.
Oh, they better be.
They better be. But I don't see, if it has to click, a lot of things have to click. I'm not convinced. I still worry because they're at Indiana. Michael Penix Jr. is an experienced quarterback
Big
now.
Kickoff, get ready.
Indiana's feeling themselves. It's at Indiana. Have I mentioned that? I know that there's a lot of Buckeye fans that fill up that stadium, but I feel this is a little different. I'm not predicting Indiana to win, but no one predicted that Indiana would face Ohio State as tough as they did last year, and I envisioned the same type of thing this year. So there you go. Oh,
I did. You were there.
You ain't anybody. No. Yes, you did.
When is that game?
I mean, in the eyes of most. But you know how many people scoffed at you and probably rolled their eyes at you? I'm just saying.
You, Shaw. How many people listen to the show today?
And you have always agreed on everything in the history of life. But Indiana is the team that I'm worried about the most for the Buckeyes in 2021.
When is that game?
That would be, hold up, I have it right here. It's Saturday, October 23rd. That's, by the way, I will say this. It is coming off of an off week. That does suck for Indiana. Ohio State has a bye after Maryland, and then on the 16th and the 23rd, never mind. Penn State, by the way, I can't put Penn State there. James Franklin, him and Harbaugh, I think every year battle it out for the most overrated coach in the Big Ten. I love what he does recruiting-wise. All right, he has taken over as far as that goes. He's beaten out Harbaugh in that category right now. But outside of that, I think that he is known for losing big game after big game after big game. Anytime Penn State is set up to go on any kind of run, they always seem to choke when the moment gets too big. So for that reason right there, I just don't look at them as being that big of a threat to Ohio State, at least as we currently sit. The Cincinnati Bengals are blank away from being a playoff team in 2021.
How do I say this without? They are an injury away. They're injury away from a starting quarterback in the AFC North. Not their own. They have to hope that Ben, Baker, or Lamar get hurt for them to have a chance. They got to rely on a situation like that, in my opinion, for them to make the playoffs.
The Bengals are Jesus coming to earth away from being a playoff team in 2021.
You never know when he's going to be back.
There are 5 miracles that can happen that I would predict happening before I predict the Bengals making the playoffs in 2021. Ain't happening. Now, in all seriousness, the Bengals are, in all seriousness, the offensive line clicking away from potentially being, I'm going to add the word potentially in there. Even if their offensive line clicks, I'm not guaranteeing anything that they're going to be a playoff team, but that's their best chance of being a playoff team is that offensive line clicking. Because if Joe Burrow has time to throw, we saw what he could do when he didn't have time to throw. Having time to throw would increase his chances of staying healthy longer. Having time to throw would also mean having time to open up some running lanes for Joe Mixon. And I think that right there. So, yes, it's very simple. It's very generic. It's very basic. But the Cincinnati Bengals are an offensive line away from being a playoff team in 2021, potentially. Because that defense I'm still not sold on, but I think that defense has a better chance at being respectable more so than that offensive line. I just don't see it happening. The Bengals could have one of the best defenses in the NFL. They're still not making the playoffs if that offensive line is crap. Just saying. We'll step away for a few moments. We'll pick up with this on the other side. We'll have our conversation with Phil Steele next. If you missed it, you can also download and subscribe to the Justin Kinner Show podcast in your Apple iTunes and Google Play Store, where you can catch it there as well. We'll be back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Staples Connect has everything you need for back to school at a